Good evening, chat. Hello. Sorry for the late start, guys. It's been it's been a week. Had a thing that went 3.5 hearing went 3.5 days, and then I got to get prepared for something that's going to go almost all day tomorrow. So my apologies, guys, but doing real shit. And if you noticed, we're starting to empty out the office. So yes, a lot of things happening all at once. A lot of things happening all at once. So welcome to the show. Welcome to the show, everybody. Hope you guys are all doing well. Got his lawyer shirt on. No, no, like I literally was working till like fucking 7:30 tonight, and I was an hour and a half from home, and I've been trying to get the house cleaned up since like 10 after 9. So yeah. Busy fucking week, busy fucking week. Which sucks. A lot of stuff I didn't want to have, like stuff I didn't want to have to hear today, but that's the world. That's the world. Anyways, chat, welcome to the Thursday night show. Hope you guys are doing well. This one, I apologize. I did not have a ton of time to prepare on this one, so it might not be the best one. It's probably not going to be a very long one either. I am extremely exhausted. It's been a hell of a week, and I still have a whole fucking day tomorrow of shit to get done. So this is not going to be. This is not going to be. This is not going to be. This is not going to be the most content laden and robust Thursday night show ever, but you guys will like it. You guys will like it. Oh, you get super zoomed in. I didn't realize I super zoomed in. Hold on, I need to fix that. Let me zoom out here and go. There we go. You guys could really see. Yes, it is. Things are getting emptied out. Things are getting emptied out. It's gonna be old school scon streams. Yeah, that is kind of like that. I remember when we first had this and I didn't have shit up on the walls. Does take me back. Does take you back to the beginning. So, Border Deporters is why clearing out the office. I'm moving to Florida. The end of the month. 2.0 got a phenomenal. She got a promotion in her job, and her and them talked about it, and they said we'd really like you to come to Florida, and they're making it. They're making it worth their while. So, if you guys are in the 2.0 here on the internet, whether in chat or wherever you're at, just tell her congratulations. I know she would appreciate it because she really did it. She really earned it. She's been working her ass off for a while. So you will get less and be happy. Tonight, yes, you guys are going to have to. Tonight, you're going to have to suffer, chat. You're going to have to do what you normally do, suffer. Also, what the hell? Also, apparently Samsung, like the Samsung Messages app, does not work right. And then it's like, so I got to switch over to Google Messages. Google Messages is a dumpster fire. So I'm getting deported. Yeah. And hold on 1 second, chat. Hold on. Vivek is deporting me. He didn't deport me. I'm leaving. So. So forced to leave Ohio for Florida. What a punishment. Hey, that's the natural thing there. Nero says, have you got a new P.O. box yet? No, I haven't been down there yet. So no, I don't have a P.O. box in Florida yet. You need to get me a framed collection box for the 59 unique spiders. I will not use it. So please don't send that. I'm 100% not, I will not use that. Johnny Osprey says, congratulations to the promotion of Assistant Special Agent in Charge of the Orlando Field Office to 2.0. Yes, I mean, she is, like I said, guys, she's been a good handler, so they're going to promote her. Not a surprise there. Lamsey Divey says, LOL. Well, yes, thank you. Hold on one more second, guys. All right, chat. So you're saying 2.0 is I'm getting replaced by an H1B holder? Yeah. Oh. So, I'll be a trophy husband now. Well, no, I'm gonna work. I will still be an Ohio attorney, and I will take I'm planning on taking floor bar at least. I don't know. Maybe the YouTube stuff will take off in the meantime because I will be around all summer and all fall. We'll see how that goes. Got like Courtney Clenny, Carmelo Anthony. We got all kinds of shit going down that we might be streaming live and see how that goes. Might see how that goes. I'm getting shower text from Hamplin. Yes, everybody's shower texting me. Who said it, Sean? Oh. So it's the Mr. Beast arc, yeah. All right, guys. So let's get started on some stuff here. It's been a couple of minutes. It's only been 5 minutes. Then comes the cocaine and galaxy gas, yeah. Access, yes, Ohio State is a big lawsuit happening. It does. Yeah, there's a lot going on here in Ohio. Dr. Nick says, who gets licensed first? Me in Florida or Nick in Minnesota? Well, I mean, yeah, I mean, technically he's still licensed. He's just suspended. So he already wins that battle. And then when he gets he can get active again and he's already there. So I know you're trying to make a joke there. It just doesn't work. Am I going to work at the local plastics plant down there? Yes. Help the modeling industry? Yes. That's exactly what I'm going to do. Wow, this is weird with Streamer. When you click on things, they go dark after you use them. Okay, Okalay says, howdy from Ryan's channel. Well, thank you for being here, man. Guys, we don't know. Last night, Ryan Mullally and I went through the Supreme Court and the TPS case where they were talking about whether or not the president has the authority and the ability to revoke temporary protected status for Haitian and Syrian refugees who at this point now have been here in the United States almost 15 years. And apparently that still counts as temporary, but we'll see. We'll see. Oh, I take it good says the IRGC is under attack by the U.S. Navy. Well, it has to happen. Suffer, Ron. Suffer. All right, guys, we are going to get started here. And did I go over the mandated kill switch of cars? No, I'm working on trying to. I am working on trying to get things together, guys. But I apologize. This month is going to suck. If you guys have things you want me to cover, I thought I'd have more time. We're only 7 days in. We've got 2 weeks till the movers get here. I just don't. I don't think I'm going to get as much done this month as I planned, and I'm very sorry about that. So, if you guys have anything you really want it done, just keep on me about it. Just this month is not going to be a good month. Next month will be a lot better. It'll just be unpacking, so we can do that whenever we want. I'm just warning you guys. This month will not be the best month. I'm sorry about that in advance. I am so sorry about that. That's gonna suck here. VW just got here, Sean. You are my favorite e-boy. Well, thank you. Radcon says no review means yes, I can review it right. Yes. Zakuza says bad Jeremy would find time to cover it. I'm sure he would. I'm sure he'd make a 1 minute short about it. Chugi Show says, I wish you could make Racket shit himself by showing up to his June hearing. I don't have time to, but that would be also Kino. I mean, I appreciate the thought there, but I mean that really is cow tipping. I mean, me showing up there doesn't change anything, and I don't know if that hearing is going to be open to the public or how it's set up. And I'm just, I don't know what part of it would be or not be. And I mean, it's fun to A-log and laugh at, but is it really worth driving all the way there? It's not that worth it for me. It's fun to laugh at, but it's not that fun to laugh at. I think hell, how far is Stearns County from me? Google Maps. Goggly Maps. Stearns County Courthouse. So, the Stearns County Court, I think this is it. In St. Cloud, Minnesota, the directions for me. To my house, your location. It is 12 hours and 35 minutes. It is 836 miles. Yeah. I'm good on that. I'm good on that. Like, I think it's a funny thing to laugh at, but I'm not that invested in it. I'm willing to go drive 12 hours. I'm also not willing to go fly in an airplane. I'm also not willing to ship a refrigerator across the country either for this thing. Like, I think there are limits to like being invested, and then after a while, you start turning into a lunatic. So, yes, always leave them wanting more. Yet the RQ, yes, yes, always leave them wanting more. Will, yes. I take it good. Says men used to march that in the Civil War. Yeah, but I'm not in the Civil War. So do I look like I'm marching all the way to anywhere except the refrigerator? No. I mean, I already knew the answer was no, Lamal. Well, I understand, but I'm more just commenting in general. More just commenting in general. Don't be a bitch. ATC would rub that shit in. Yeah, I can't go to Minnesota. I'm heading to Florida to investigate what the oranges are for. It's 1,000 miles, 860. So that would be the difference. That would be the difference here. I will say there was hilarious. I did see clips of the Melanie Mack and Christy Mayer show last night. Christy Mayer show. Oh my god, they were fucking brutal to her. They were so fucking brutal to her in the super chat. So, all right, guys, it's time to get started here. Yes, the long walk. Yes, the long march to the fridge. And hold on, do I have a? Hold on here. I think I may have our guest. Come here, Bubba. Come here, buddy. Clyde. Come here, Bubba. And he's all out of sorts now. He's like 2.0's gone. He's like, not doing it, fat man. Not doing it. Not doing it. Oh, I was a guess. I was off by about 150 miles. No, I know. I was just saying it was close. Lola says, looks like you're packing up your office. Yes. Well, I have to bring it with me. I can't just leave it here. So, all right, guys, let's get started. I put in the title, but this is really like, I can't clickbait you guys on this for too long. Jeffrey Epstein's note got released, and you're like, oh my God, what's in it? What does he say? And who does he say? And what does he name? You're like, yeah, there's not really much there. There's not much there. It is a little interesting. It is a little interesting here for Trump. But allegedly, this is Jeffrey Epstein's suicide note. We don't know if that's true. Because there's some issues here with this, and that this is a very weird note. So the purported note was obtained by his former jail cellmate. So it's already his former jail cellmate did it. And the letter, which is handwritten on lined paper, I hate it when it does that. Why does it do that? Say that, was written on lined paper and has not been authenticated. Dates is to believe Epstein's unsuccessful suicide attempt less than 2 weeks before he died. Which, so Epstein was found with I hate it when it does. Why does it do that? I talk about Epstein being found with an orange cloth around his neck and friction marks on his neck. He was just totally normal, totally normal. And it says, the note is handwritten and reads, they investigated for me for months, found nothing. Well, they found a lot. We found a lot. We found a lot there, bro. The writing's difficult to read. It says, so 16-year-old charges resubmitted. Then it says, it is a treat to be able to choose one's time to say goodbye. What you want me to do? Bust out crying. I want you to bust. And then no fun, not worth it. This right here, no fun, not worth it. That sounds like something Trump would put in the end of a Truth Social tweet. But yeah, it says they investigate me for months, found nothing. So 16-year-old charges, yeah, I guess resubmitted. It is a treat to be able to choose one's time to say goodbye. What you want me to do, but bust out crying. This is so fucking, no fun, not worth it. Totally not worth it. And you have to say it in all caps. But yeah, this is the weird stuff that happened though. His cellmate was a former NYPD cop who was already facing his own charges and was this big dude who definitely could have killed him. And Epstein said he was immediately attacked by the guy, but told investigators he didn't know what occurred, didn't want to talk about how he had injuries. It's like, totally that big muscly guy didn't kill you. And then the suicide note was written on a legal yellow pad. Why do we need to know that? But they said they never formally authenticated the note. It's like, well, who cares? I mean, this is allegedly his note. It's so weird how this is all, there you go, guys. I mean, little drips and drabs of stuff coming out of the Epstein files. So I guess he did it. I don't know. Yes, congratulations for both. Uh, so it is very, very funny. It's very funny. Did Hillary Clinton just so happen to find this note? Yes, I think that was part of the issue here. Yes, Opdog. Yes, that is correct. Send it to CGC for grading and put it in a slab. Or you could use PSA or Beckett's. I mean, I've seen this one guy. I think it's hilarious. He takes cards from like PSA or Beckett's or CGC, and he busts open a slab and resubmits it and see if they grade it differently. And also, I didn't realize there was a whole, like, especially the Pokemon cards, there's a whole industry of guys who can like fix cards and kind of rehabilitate them, and it's actually kind of weird what they do, but apparently it works. That's a whole, like, I mean, those people make the Beanie Baby people look sane. That's all I can say about that. That's all I can say about that. Yeah, 2019 just seems like yesterday. I know. Epstein died on my birthday in 2019. I was like, based. Best kicker, yeah. Yeah. Yeah, they gave the guy a piece of paper and a pen while on suicide watch. Yeah, that's a little weird. It is. The whole thing's weird. It doesn't make sense. Bush McFadden's been a member for 13 months as Baker's Dozen Sandwich Man. Yes, Flax. Thank you. Okay, let's see here. Total BS distraction, yes. Dr. Michael Bond says he was killed, end of debate. Yeah, does it really matter if he did or didn't? I mean, like, really at this point? So that becomes the issue, I think, at this point. Do you know about anything about Murdaugh's murder conviction being overturned? Sorry about that. Oh god, it's gonna get worse down in Ohio or Florida. It's gonna get worse down in Ohio. I'm like, you're in Ohio, you idiot. But what's going on at this point? Chewy, this actually we'll go into this next story. Alex Murdaugh's case is still pending before the South Carolina Supreme Court, and we're not sure. We're not sure what happens here. But there are some things to happen. There are some things that are going to happen here. The Supreme Court has yet to appeal its decision and tell them what they're going to do. But this is, what's going to happen here. And there's rumors that apparently they've reached a decision, but it's not clear. It's not clear at this point, but it does seem to be imminent. It does seem to be imminent, and it does seem to be like he will get a new trial on the murder case. We don't know though, but there are a couple. Keno just read 2 of my comments last night. Oh, is Keno Casino live tonight? Wow, Thursday night. I got to drag race them. Oh, well, I guess I'll kick their ass too tonight. But anyways, guys, Fitz News. Fitz News is a news organization that has been covering the Murdaugh stuff, has been deep in it. And they helped cover some of the stuff with Becky Hill and her son getting indicted, as far as all their corruption they had engaged in. And I still think that Alex Murdaugh should get, a new trial. I think that the stuff was extremely prejudicial of allowing all the financial crimes in. I think what Becky Hill did, Tina the jury, like, it's totally such a problem for everything involved. You're gonna need about 5.4K more viewers, yes. But it's is Poon in there getting the W? Yeah, Dick Harpoolian, good old Pooner. Old Pooner. He's doing the Lord's work. And it does sound like they're making good progress, and it does sound like the court's gonna grant. I hope they do. As I told you guys, though, we just don't know what's gonna happen. We don't know what's gonna happen. Things are kind of like, as Fitz News writes, like it's the rumors swirl. It's like, yeah, they're gonna swirl like turds going down the toilet. We don't know what's gonna happen yet, and we're still waiting. We're still waiting. So at some point we may find out more information. So when you guys say, would you get a new judge if there's a new trial? Yes, because that judge is gone. Judge Newman is gone. He's retired. He's out of there. They would get a new judge, even if they wouldn't automatically get one. If I'm Alex Murdaugh's attorneys, I'm filing for motions to recuse, given his rulings previously, his affinity for Becky Hill, and the fact he let all kinds of shit in. I would argue he's prejudiced against the Murdaugh team. So I think that would happen anyway. But yes, they will be getting a new judge for that if it does get a new trial. Let me see here. Do you think he emptied his son's brainwater? I don't know. I know that the forensics were kind of shitty. And one of the forensics, they had to introduce the theory that basically either, he was, his wife was shot at one point by a midget, or if Alex dug a hole in the ground and then stood in the hole in the ground and shot up at her in the face. Those are only two ways he could have made the shot. So we don't really know yet. If the dude is guilty and the state doesn't need to play dirty to get the conviction, I agree. But even then, the state was playing dirty, but the court let all kinds of stuff happen. And the court was playing dirty, and the court did a lot of stuff it shouldn't have done. So, switching over to this, though, this is what's going on here. And this is like it says, the decision, the rumors swirl. And they say, while they await word, Mandy Matney is apparently she's kind of one of the asshole podcasters out of the whole Murdaugh thing. Claims that somebody's told her that the 5 justices have reached unanimous decision. Who knows? They shouldn't be talking like that, though. But this is funny because she was one of the pro-state ball lickers in this case. She's we certainly don't want to believe that it's true. Pre-coping her audience. It's yeah, this whole thing was, she's one. It says a lot when they are there, and yeah, it's Akuza. How do you avoid getting any DNA on them? Yeah, it's impossible. So, JDK Buck says, who told her, Becky? I don't know, but the fact she's preparing her viewers for a letdown tells you a lot. That she must. I think she's probably got a source. She's probably got a source here. But yeah, there's so many problems with it. Even if he wore the tarp they're claiming he wore, the poncho he wore, that would have been covered in goo. There would have been an outline around him where all the goo from the guns going off and blood spatter going everywhere would not be around him. There's so much of it that doesn't make sense. And honestly, I think half the county had an incentive to kill these people at this point. They say, by way of clarifying, Supreme Court cannot order a new trial. What they can do is reverse the decision, which denied the request for new proceedings. So, yes, and that means it would start from scratch, which, yes, there would be a new thing. And then ultimately, it would restart. Are they going to retry him again? Maybe they will, maybe they won't. Remember, he's already going to jail for the rest of his life for the financial crimes. So they could. Now, the problem is, it's murders. You can't just let those go. What idiot would give up a safe government job to leak info, then get them fired to a podcaster? Well, you're seeing the whole Becky thing. The Becky Hill thing, man. People want those crumbs of clout. They're like incels looking for whiffs of puss and crumbs of puss. The idea of getting a little clout, just a little bit. They want that. They could be, they're cool and they're the source. And God, I look emo when my hair gets like that, but they're cool and they're the source. And I can't get my hair cut tomorrow. Fuck. I just remember that. I had to move it. So, but yeah, they want to be, it's kind of the Dr. Steve thing. You're cool, man. You're gonna be cool. We think you're cool. You're part of the family. You know, you're in the in crowd. Like all these people think that's important. Oh my god, this podcaster. Oh wow, woo. You know, it's very much like when people that like because there are people like you know, I'm talking to people or they learn that I have a YouTube channel. Like, oh well, how many subscribers do you have? I'm like 27,200. I'm like, oh, that it's not that big. And they're like, oh my god, holy shit, that's huge. And I'm like, it's not really. Like, yes, compared to a guy with 10 subs, it's big, but it's not really in the grand scheme of things. So, um, it's very interesting how this is all going to shake out here. And yes, the amount of clout these people are chasing around, it is very, very weird. It is weird. Um, now there is, it's funny because there is another, you know, there's a whole issue with this Mandy Matney chick. You know, the stuff she's involved in, she was sought to be deposed as part of a um case, a civil case, and she didn't show up. And she's now facing contempt for her subpoena violations. It's actually very, very funny what's going on here. So these people that are talking about their leaks, they have all kinds of stuff going on. I think it's going to go very interesting there. You can always tell when Sean wants to eat the goo of a defense attorney. Yes, that's it. I guess I drink all your milkshake. I drink it up. Yes. Fair Frozen says also wasn't she acting like she was personally directing justice and shit? Yeah, she did. Becky, yeah, she did all kinds of stuff. So it's just another example. Don't let people clout chase. We can't have that. We can't have that, chat. All right. Moving on from there, we're gonna move on to some other stuff that's going on. This is, you know, people out here juicing their tampons up about, oh my god, people are threatening Trump again. You know, as much as Mark Hamill is a complete faggot, and I think he's just cringe and all that. Mark Hamill says, if only, not a threat, not a threat, not a threat. You know, he should live long enough to realize his devastating loss in the midterms, be held accountable for his unprecedented corruption. You know, it's funny. He acts like, you know, it's just corruption you've heard of. He just did it out in the open. Like he's literally every other politician. You know, being impeached, convicted, and humiliated for his countless crimes, lived long enough to realize he'll be disgraced for the history books forevermore. It's like, okay, great. He's a faggot. That's all you have to say. Wow, cool story, faggot, and ignore him. It's not a crime. None of that. So that looks like a nice place to take a pee. Yeah. Yes, Mark Hamill wouldn't be famous without Star Wars. That's true. That's true. Bald Eagle says, yeah, if this is what's causing people not trust the system, if a podcaster can influence how a trial proceeds, then there's no fair trial. I agree. There's a lot of problems with this. And is this woman going to be held accountable? I don't know. I don't know. We'll find out. We'll find out. Is Mark Hamill really sick and dying? I mean, he's old. Like, Mark Hamill is in his 70s. So, I mean, the idea that he might keel over at some point escalates as we go. Yeah, he's 75. So, yeah, the idea he's just going to keel over at some point will be pretty real. So, he will be very real about that. So, all right, moving. And that I just wanted to say because people are like freaking out about it. It's not a thing. It's not a thing, guys. It's not a thing. This is now also moving on to, and this is where, you know, if you happen to be a legal practitioner in the state of Minnesota, this would be a great thing for you to get involved in. You know, and I get this from following the Minnesota Gun Owners Caucus here on Twitter. And if you guys remember Rob Dorr, he was on our show a while back as one of the lobbyists for the Minnesota Gun Owners Caucus and was getting ready to help people fight the battle against Senate Bill 4067. And as of lately, it was being passed by one vote, and it was moved on to the Minnesota House. So what does it do? Well, there's a lot of things in there. There's like a magazine ban of over 17 rounds, which, what, like, it's funny because you have like the New York, like you have a 10-round magazines. Now you have like 17-round magazines. They want state certification of grandfathered firearms, which, many semi-automatic rifles, pistols, and shotguns are going to become assault weapons. And any semi-automatic rifle with the detachable magazines banned. You have to renew your registrations every 3 years. They are restricting homemade firearms. They're requiring serialization through an FFL. Restricting unfinished frames of receivers. There are limitations for 3D printing. All this stuff. Once again, it's funny how this is a blatant First Amendment violation, but okay. More red flag confiscation. There are government exemptions, but hey, I love it when they're like, "Oh yeah, we're going to ban them, but we can't do it." So it's sadly though, chat. This is where you could see it the best. Moms demanding action because remember, what's their qualification to comment on any of this stuff? That some guy cream pied them. Some loser nutted inside them and they became a mom, so therefore they can now demand action. But yes, the Minnesota Senate passed this. I believe it did get passed this week. It got passed, and ultimately, things are dragging on here, and they are, they're crowing about what this is going to do. They are going to be more ER. They're going to be more red flags going out there. They are expanding everything they can. They're expanding everything they can. If you guys can get involved, call your legislators out in Minnesota. Tell them to quit. Tell them not to support this. Tell them to vote against it. Do whatever they can to attack this because you guys don't need it. Minnesota, I hope you guys win, but goddamn, the commies are powerful in Minnesota. The commies are powerful in Minnesota. And I just don't understand how they have all this power. I just don't. So, I really don't. Yes, the gunfight distracts from the fraud and keeping dead people on the voting rolls. Yeah. Bald Eagle says, I wonder if county sheriffs are going to tell the pieces of shit in Minneapolis to fuck off. That's the thing. I don't know, and I wouldn't count on that. I mean, that's the real point here. Anytime, police officers say they're not going to do that, I don't trust them. Until they go out and start committing crimes themselves or the government's coming after them, I can't trust that they're going to do anything right. They haven't demonstrated it. Like, they need to show they got some skin in the game. Go commit a federal crime, and then I know you're got my back. But until it happens, I'm not holding out hope. Yeah, I know it's happened. Well, it hasn't happened in Illinois. Like, they're saying that, but I don't know what's happened or hasn't happened. Like, if you want to show me that push comes to shove, go get yourself in trouble, and then, yeah, I'll be happy to back you all the way, Sheriff. So, and Zakuza says, cops here in Minnesota happily enforce the COVID mandates. Well, there's that too. There's that too. And remember, they're going to be exempt from this law, so they don't care. They can do whatever the fuck they want. And Minnesota can remove sheriffs for refusing to enforce state law. Well, there you go. That's going to be a problem too. Lisa needs braces. Dental plan. Are they going to risk little Sally getting braces for you? No, they won't. It's just yes. Minnesota is an Islamic state. It is. But sorry to hear it about Minnesota, guys. Just keep fighting the good fight out there. Like I said, Rob Dorr will be out there willing to help, and see what you guys could do out there to protect yourselves, and call your state reps. Call your state reps. Agus saying the sheriff removal law here in Washington was found unconstitutional. Yeah, but that doesn't mean the government won't try to do what they want. You got to be careful about that. You got to be careful. Because they'll still do what they want, and then is that guy going to comply? That becomes another issue. There. Okay, where are we at now with... this is a speaking of some gun Second Amendment related stuff here. This one is interesting, chat. This one's very, very interesting. Bald Eagle says it's a sad day when the NRA is proven right in the future after they faded from relevance. The NRA was never really that relevant. The NRA existed to enrich itself. Most gun Second Amendment activity was done at the grassroots level of each state. If people are worried about, like, if you took the NRA funding and split that up amongst the 50 state gun owner groups, oh my God, they would be so effective. So effective. Like, it's your local state groups that really get shit done. The NRA is kind of like, yeah, it scares politicians, but that's it. Most gun owners could vote whatever way they want to without the NRA telling them how to vote. I haven't been a member of the NRA in like over like 6 or 7 years now. Support the Second Amendment Foundation, Gun Owners of America. This year, I might actually throw in and support National Association for Gun Rights. I support the Buckeye Firearms Association. I go to Florida, I'm going to support their local state organizations. They do far more work than the NRA. The NRA is a bunch of cocksuckers. All they did was help Wayne LaPierre bang hookers and bang whores, they called interns, in their fucking apartments they bought for him, let them wear fucking Italian suits, and then pay fucking out the ass to some bullshit law firm in Dallas for like hundreds of thousands of dollars every year. So fuck them. Fuck them. Yeah, this is really it at this point. This is really it. There's nothing the NRA, like, yeah, they offer Eddie the Eagle. Great. And they have a banger museum. But your local state organization, yeah. Funbusters with $5 is more effective than the NRA. Yep. Totally. Bella's saying when Dana Loesch left, it flatlined. I mean, when all that stuff was going on, it was kind of like Coleon Noir was there and all those other people on NRA TV, and that was all just grifting to make money. They weren't really doing anything important. Fairphone says, I've never been a member of the NRA for a long time. Many clubs, it's like shooting ranges and sportsmen's clubs, you had to be an NRA member. You had to. Hold on one more second, chat. You had to be an NRA member. Why? Because boomers decided. Now, like one of the ranges I was at, I helped push for, let's let other gun rights groups memberships acceptable. And everybody was on board with that. They're like, yeah, cool. Especially when you find out the NRA doesn't do as much as they claim to. And they have they have the Winnington Center out in New Mexico, which I've never been to. I've seen pictures of it. I know people have been there. It's an absolutely amazing shooting complex. But there's very little the NRA does that your local groups can't do. J-Rock says, nice, Sean. Yes. But yes, and it's funny how much of a boogeyman the NRA is, despite how ineffective it is. Yeah. The amount of money that they actually spend is minuscule. And it's literally just gun owners just voting and knowing and understand they have to crush Bolsheviks wherever they appear. It's easy enough. So, been there, done that for $4.99. Says, yesterday was my birthday. Well, happy birthday, man. Happy birthday. Today is my son's. Happy birthday to your boy. And my daughter's is Sunday. That's a lot of birthdays in a week. I'm donating my birthday money to Clyde. Whoa, well, thank you. Thank you so much for that. Hold on, where is he? Oh, normally he's like, a lot of times I'll turn, he's like, he'll pop out and walk away. It's like, no, fat man, you can't touch me. Clyde, come here, bud. Him and Lainey like console each other right now. 2.0's gone. Hi, Bubba. Come here. Do you want to come here? Come on. Oh, hi. Oh, yeah. He's like, pick me up, fat man. Pick me up. Fat man. He got out in the, like, it was raining yesterday. He's just like, I get home from court and it's just raining and he's just standing outside on the patio and he's just getting rained on. He's, oh, hi, fat man. Just getting a little rained on. And I'm like, he'd been standing out there for like probably 20, 30 minutes. And he's just like, oh, no, just taking a shower. He looks all ragamuffin-y now, doesn't he? Oh, that's it, oh, Papa. Aw. He's such a good boy. Aw. So, that's funny because Matt says recently the NRA has at least recently been getting a lot done. Maybe now, but for the longest time they never did shit. The NRA has not done shit. They have gotten in the way of a lot of local groups doing action. I know, for example, they kind of got in the way of Ohio getting CCW passed back in like 2004. There were a lot of things the NRA did not do that were not helpful. So, yeah, we'll see, but not for now. And then they get fucked over by Letitia James, and they let all that crap happen to them. So, no, I got a lot of beef with the NRA. They pissed all that money away, all their fuddy board of directors, when like real people who want to make progress tried to get involved, and the NRA kind of torpedoed all that. Like, there's just so much bullshit that the NRA has been involved in over the years. So, Case's new background sucks. Dana doesn't even mention working for the NRA in her show. Wow. Well, there you go. There's still a lot of boomers that push NRA memberships. Yeah. Yep. The NRA feels like a scam. It kind of is a scam now. Charlton Heston was your president. Yeah, but even back then, the NRA didn't do too much. Yes, the NRA's national lobbying budget's $2 million. AB InBev, its beer ad budget is $7 billion. Yes. But you don't need it. You don't need to lobby. Guns sell themselves. Let's see. Cole, how you doing? To a hello. Yes, the NRA is a great rodeo clown. Yes, the Firearms Policy Coalition as well. Although I know, depending on who you ask, they might not be good. Yeah, I agree. The NRA is, not helpful. They're a lightning rod. Oh my god, you guys are like going so fast. How is he handling the move? Yeah, I don't know. Like all these boxes are kind of like getting him like all a little weirded out, and then 2.0 being gone right now. Her job was like, hey, we need you to come down and work on something like right now. So she's already down there for like this week and next week, and then she comes back for a week and then moves officially. So I'm sure Clyde and Laney are all out of sorts ultimately. But they come over, they snuggle. Like, Clyde will come up and snuggle on me, and he sleeps on top of my head. But Laney is still all standoffish. But that's how Laney is. That's how she is. That's how she do. That's how she do. Ultimately. Okay, let's see here. Are y'all renting a place or buying? We are getting a house. We are buying a house down there. So putting all the stuff away probably confuses the usual smell of locations. Yeah, that might be an issue. I don't know. Laney's already kind of like a head case as far as dogs are concerned. Katie says the excited National Ralph Male Association. That's funny. That is hilarious. That is hilarious. All right, guys. Moving on from there, though. This is a case, and it's the United States of America suing the state of Colorado and the Colorado Department of Public Safety. You're like, ooh, what is this? What is this? Ooh. A complaint for declaratory and injunctive relief. Oh, so they're seeking an injunction. What is the DOJ seeking an injunction for? Okay. Well, I already like kind of how this starts, chat, because how does it start? The introduction. This is actually some good news coming out of the DOJ for once. The Second Amendment to the United States Constitution. Ooh, I already like this. And it says, declares that the right of the people to keep and bear arms shall not be infringed. Yes. The Second Amendment protects the right of law-abiding citizens to keep and bear arms in common use for lawful purposes in D.C. versus Heller. And it was incorporated by the 14th Amendment. And it's funny, we had to have an incorporation case and not just go, duh, it is. But yes, McDonald versus City of Chicago. And then they point out that Colorado statutes 18-12-302, the magazine ban, makes it a crime to sell, transfer, or possess in the state a large capacity magazine. The magazine ban uses politically charged rhetoric to describe the arms it bans. These magazines are large capacities, a misnomer. Because they're capable of holding more than 15 rounds, they're in fact standard capacity for many popular firearms, including the AR-15, the most popular rifle in America. At this point, yes, I would have to agree. Like I said, the amount of numbers of built firearms at this point, there are tens of millions of, there's so many. There's so many. There are over 20. They know at least of, they think roughly since 1990 to 2020, there were 24.4 million, AR-15s, AK-47 style pattern rifles, FAL patterns, G3 patterns, anything like that. So it's quite a few. It's quite a few. It's quite a few. Now, it depends on who you ask, because there's also numbers you could see out there where they're claiming that there's roughly about 30 million. And, the ATF, as of last year as a gate, as of 2020, they said 24 million. Well, as of, now in 2025, the ATF believes that over 30 million semi-automatic rifles have made it into the United States. Think about that, guys. Think about that. And the number just goes, it goes, it goes, it goes, it goes. And this is actually a very good article about this. They talk about 1990, 74,000 were produced or imported, which is a very limited amount. And guys, remember, prior to 2004, when the assault weapons ban expired, not a lot of people had an AR-15. That was a very rare thing to see at a gun range. By 1994, when the ban expired, and they say 19, I think they mean 2004, it had climbed to 274,000. They approached 500,000 in 2007 and hit 1 million in 2009. Think about that. We gained like 30 million firearms in like fucking 15 years. We gained like 30 million firearms in 15 years, chat. That is absolutely based information. So that is good. And here is a good graph of all of this here. If you guys want to see this, here you go, on the graph. And just look at these numbers here. And this is where you need that. It's like that election night music. 1990, 74,000 annual total. Do 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 do. And notice he starts 74,000, and by 2022, 2.564 million. Yes, more, yes. But that is amazing. Isn't that base? That is so, it's great. It's so good. It's so good. It's so good. But guys, remember, modern sporting rifles. I don't think that's just modern sporting rifles. I actually think that that's a combination of, like I said, if it's an AK pattern, G3 pattern, FAL pattern. Now, the G3 and FAL patterns really aren't the big imports anymore, the big manufacturing things. And remember, a lot of the FALs that came into the country were like parts kits. And this is where, if you guys aren't aware, there's actually lore that back in the early 2000s, you could buy an AK-47 parts kit for like $150. And you could, with a barrel, and you'd buy a flat. And you go do what's called an AK build party. And somebody would have a press. Some guy would have a rivet setter or a rivet gun, and you would rivet and build your AK. Some guy'd be there and help weld in the rails. And people would build AKs like in a garage, like 10 people at a time. The AK build parties, there were FAL build parties. I saw an FAL build party once. I didn't have the money for one at the time, but I got to go hang out with people doing it. It was a lot of fucking fun and a lot of coolness. A lot of coolness there. So Yeah, the problem is most of those numbers are from garbage manufacturers. After a while, no. Once you get past I overall though, they're still out there. They're still out there. Nowadays, though, they're all good manufacturers. Like it's hard to be a shitty manufacturer nowadays. Yes, you could buy Norinkos from China in the 90s. Yeah, but that ended because remember, Clinton banned imports from China. So Brandon Herrera hosted a few several years ago. Yes. Hudge is saying now we need to jack up the potential capital of the per capita of the American heritage gun ownership numbers. Yes. Well, all right. So let's get back to this filing here. The United States will not adopt the state's tendentious term. Instead, for purposes of the complaint, the banned magazine shall have the same meaning as the term large capacity magazine. Like this is, you only like you can do this shit. It's like it can be cringe and gay, but you're the DOJ. So you're already cringe and gay, so it's all right. You're just cringe and gay to start with. This is I don't know how they think this is going to work here, but okay. Let's just keep going. They said law-abiding Americans own and use for lawful purposes literally hundreds of millions of magazines as those banned by the state. Yes, we do. Hundreds of millions of magazines. I have like 85 magazines right now for my ARs, and I only have. Let me get the shorty, the race gun, and then the home defense. I have like 3 of them right now that are like ready to go that could shoot. And I got a couple that I hope to get worked on here. I still haven't made my Black Hawk Down one, which I'm still kind of. I have so many gun projects I want to do, but I have like over 80 magazines, and that's not even that many. I have magazines for guns I don't own. I have a whole box of G3 magazines right now. There are like 25 of them in my basement. That hopefully I can make the G3 because I got the G3 parts kit you guys saw me go over with on Locals. Whip that bitch out, put it together, and I got 25 magazines ready to go. I own magazines for a Steyr AUG. I own a couple Waffle mags, and I don't own a Steyr AUG. It's like for a while I had when I was in law school, I had like 1,000 rounds of 7.62 rolling around in my trunk, and I didn't own a fucking AK. But that's how based America is. That's how based this country is, chat. So, but notice this. Those banned by the state. An attachable magazine is an internal part of most semi-automatic firearms, including the AR-15. Yes. Remember, chat, when it comes to the idea of semi-automatic firearms that are magazine-fed from an external box magazine, the magazine is considered a disposable item. It's intended to be disposable. Obviously, for us as owners, it's not, but you can... we reuse them, but think about it in the military, especially in war, magazines get used and tossed. They're a consumable item. VTubing says, "Why do you own magazines for weapons you don't own?" Because they come my way and they're very cheap. Like the Steyr AUG mags I got for like $10 a piece, and 40 round Steyr AUG magazines, those are like 42 rounds. The Waffle mags. Those are hard, those are expensive as shit. They're like 30 some bucks a piece. And the guy who had them knew it. He's like, "Yeah, just take them. I want to get rid of them." I'm like, "Okay." But yeah. Kavar says 80 magazines, not bad. You can fit 20, 30 round magazines in a Pelican, 2 combat loads in a fat briefcase size. Yeah. Oh. Clint Smith says you should have no less than 100 magazines. I agree with that, and I'm working on that. I've probably used and abused and wasted 20 magazines through various means of damaging them over my time as being a gun owner since getting out of college and having getting my AR-15 in 2008. I've dented a couple of magazines, worn out some feed lips, properly storing them. I had a PMag once where I was doing the drop testing when the PMags first came out, and it was really fucking cold out, and I let it sit out, and I was at the range with some guys, and we dropped it on the concrete, and the lips shattered. So yeah, I've fucked up some mags in my time. Yeah, HK G3 mags used to be dirt cheap. Yeah, they were like $1.50, $2 a piece, and that's why I bought them, because they were like $1.50 a piece, and at some point I thought I'd get them. Let's see. Yes, I have ammo and mags for guns I will one day own. Yes, that is what I hope. That is what I hope. Derna says you should have a speed loader. Yeah, it's all right. It's all right. Um, I have 10 end block clips that are somehow worse than I imagined. Okay, that is a thing there. The magazine like end block clips or and Enfield clips. Oh my god. Like I bought original ones for my SMLE. Like I bought like British surplus ones. They're fucking shit. I bought repros. They suck even more. I can't like they're awful to use. Like I don't know how people like stripper clips for my Mauser. Great. The end block clips for the Garand. Great. But this fucking Enfield, these Enfield clips are fucking garbage, man. Fucking garbage. Oh, and Vita enthusiast. Here you go. I did not see this. Sorry. It says for $10. Are there international gun rights groups that are good in case I ever need to live abroad? I don't have any faith in the USA's future. My ethnic homeland of Italy is good, but I need gun rights. Well, here's the thing. In a lot of these countries, you don't get to do gun rights like we do here. There is a channel that's on YouTube. It's called British Shooting. And the guy who ran it was all about like, the shooting sports and pushing for legislation and pushing for firearms rights. British police came to him and said, if you keep pushing for stuff, because they're like, we think you're getting a little too extreme, mate, we'll take your firearms license away. So he had to back down. Like in most countries, you don't see groups like very small groups. They're meant to do very little. It's not the same level of advocacy we have here. Most people think shooting's a hobby or a pastime. So no, it's like there are groups in all these countries, but it's not the same. It's not the same. I mean, the closest one are the ones at Runkle. You see him tweeting about once in a while. But most of these places, they are not like us. They are not like us. And that's just, they have to operate within the frameworks they have, which sucks. So, yes, you can own guns in other countries, and I'm not saying you can't, but it all depends what you're doing there. I mean, like in a lot of these countries, like Italy, for example, Italy's big on Western style firearms. Like, getting a hold of ARs in some of these countries is really hard, if not impossible. Or in some places like France, I don't know if it's still this way for the longest time. Your AR-15s had to be chambered in 222 Remington. The apparent case, the parent caliber for 223 Remington, because it's not a military caliber then. But in Italy, why Uberti, Pedersoli, God, who else makes their shit? Uberti, Pedersoli, Cimarron. These Italian companies make Western guns. It's because the Italians love the spaghetti Westerns and the cowboys. And that's the stuff that like people predominantly get there and have access to. So that's why it's tough. It depends on where you live. It's really, really tough, man. And Switzerland's like the only exception. Yeah. Switzerland's a great exception. Bloke on the range owns all kinds of shit. Owns a couple of like full auto weapons, but that's very different than any, most other places. So Gucci Mask says, so are ARs are legal everywhere now? No, they are not. Sadly, that's something still being worked on. Malcolm says my USP mags are like $45 each. Well, do you have like the plastic ones, the translucent USP magazines? Those are kind of cool looking. Oh, hold on here. Oh, so they're all made out of wrong thickness sheet metal. That's why they suck. Okay. Well, I just don't know why, but it's like it's all awful. The painter from Austria loved cowboy westerns. Yes. Beretta. Pieta. Yeah, that's what I was thinking. So who makes my fucking pistols? My black powder pistols. No, Beretta does not make cowboy action stuff. So. Stephen Cooper says leaving Poland out in the Czech Republic. Yeah, I forgot about them, but the Czech Republic's unique because you're allowed to conceal carry there. They have like shall issue, but Poland, it's a little, it's a little different there. Let's see here. Brett owns most of those brands. I'm sure they do at some point, or Frankie owns them or something, or Benelli. Missouri Battleflag says the Brett Knight 2 is a copy of the P-38. I mean, kind of, but like not exactly. So, well, let's keep going here. Let's keep going with this and just get through this, guys. Let's knock this out here. And they say the state's magazine ban is a ban on arms in common use for lawful citizens in the U.S. Therefore, the magazine ban violates Second Amendment. Parties, well, we know who the people are here. We're not really worried about the jurisdiction and venue. Yeah, they're coming into this. And they talk about the relevant statutes. So what is a large capacity magazine? It means a fixed or detachable magazine, box drum, feed strip, meaning so like a belt-fed machine gun. So if you owned a semi-automatic 1919 or a semi-automatic RPD or an MG34 or an MG3 or oh god, what the fuck do the Yugoslavians call it? Is it an MG53? I forget what they call it. The Yugoslavians call their MG42 knockoffs. Or a similar device capable of accepting or readily accepted to convert more than 15 rounds of ammunition. Or a fixed tubular shotgun magazine that holds more than 28 inches of shotgun shells, including any extension device attached to the magazine and holds additional shotgun shells. So what does that mean? Okay, well, if I have a shotgun and I put a really long magazine on it, well, that's large capacity. And then a non-tubular detachable box magazine drum feed strip or similar device that is capable of accepting more than 8 shotgun shells when combined with a fixed magazine. So notice, that's how you get around this here, because more than 15 rounds covers pistols and rifles. This covers shotguns like a Sega. So if you have like a Sega 12 and you want to put one of the Sega magazines on it, 10-round magazine's fucking huge on a shotgun. That's a large capacity magazine. So they go on to, what's a standard review, and they go to Bruin. And they point out that the Second Amendment's plain text covers an individual's conduct, and the Constitution presumptively protects that conduct. The government must then justify its regulation by demonstrating it's consistent with the nation's historical tradition of firearm regulation. So they go on to say, so under step 1 of the Bruin test, when the Second Amendment covers the individual's conduct, it's protected. Which I think, yeah, you're here. This is what's going on. And they point out that it's presumptively protected. And they say another way of doing this is that a law that restricts conduct covered by the plain text of the Second Amendment is presumptively unconstitutional. And I think that's the way it should be addressed and looked at. I think that's a very fair way of doing it here. And then they say step 2, the government has an opportunity to rebut any presumption by demonstrating the regulation consistent with the nation's historical tradition of firearm regulation. And then only then may the court conclude the individual's conduct falls outside the Second Amendment's unqualified command, which is, it's so straightforward, yet so many courts refuse to apply it properly. Isn't it weird, chat? It's almost like they don't care. They're all wrapped up in the rule of law, and they pretend to be, we follow the law, we're courts of law, but it's like, okay, well, here's what you have to do. And they're like, no, I don't want to follow that. I don't want to apply that standard. And it's like, then what the fuck are we doing here? What the fuck are we doing here? I don't know some days. Yes, Switzerland has a national registry. Well, most of the time, the rifle you get is your service rifle. And that's all checked. It's heavily restricted. I mean, yeah, it's not like here in America. So, I mean, like they have a lot of guns, but it's very, very different vibe than there. So they point out magazines are arms. And what do they go to? Well, they go to reading the law, interpretation of legal text. Remember, it's done by Antonin Scalia and Brian Gardner. Remember, I said Antonin Scalia and Brian Gardner. Remember, he's the guy who writes the Red Book, a very prominent legal professor, especially in terms of legal writing. It says when the text authorizes a certain act, it implicitly authorizes whatever is necessarily a predicate of that act. And they say constitutional rights implicitly protect those closely related acts necessary to their exercise. And they say detachable magazines, such as those banned by the state, fall into this category. And they cite a case from the Third Circuit. It's the New Jersey rifle case from 2018. And it says magazines are necessary for semi-automatic guns to function as intended, and are therefore arms in the meaning of the Second Amendment. Yeah. But notice that it was abrogated by Bruin on other grounds, so Bruin kind of absorbed it, and it's not bad case law. It's just Bruin kind of swallowed it up. They say the magazine bans bearable arms, therefore, it implicates the text of the Second Amendment, and they say under Bruin, it's unconstitutional and set forth below. The defendants can't rebut this presumption. There's no tradition of banning arms in common use. And they talk about the case here in Colorado Outfitters versus Hickenlooper. Yes, John Hickenlooper, the former governor of Colorado. He was sued in his individual capacity. And they talk about Rocky Mountain gun owners versus Hickenlooper. He was sued in his individual capacity. And they're talking about cases here. And then also Polis is Jared Polis, the current governor. And then these suits, the state entered certain out stipulations. And they say that individual stipulations were entered into in the other case. The state entered certain stipulations of the Rocky Mountain gun owners case. And they say that there are, and what's been stipulated to, there are more than 300 million firearms lawfully owned in the United States. Pump up those numbers, chat. Do your part. A significant percentage are privately owned semi-automatic. Most of them utilize a detachable box magazine. Yep. Almost all handguns and almost all rifles. Yep. Many hunting rifles or non-military style rifles that have detachable magazines as well. The lawful number of semi-automatic firearms in the United States is in the tens of millions. Yep. Several million AR-15s have been lawfully purchased in the United States and are used for lawful purposes. So notice, they can use these stipulations because these are stipulations that the state of Colorado already agreed to. And they say states without laws regarding magazine capacity, AR-15 rifles are usually sold at retail with a detachable box magazine capable of holding 30 rounds. And chat, why are you guys, some of you might say, why is it called a box magazine? Because it's a box. That is the type of magazine that it is. And when you look at one, it looks like a box. And in a box magazine could be a lot of different things. For example, a box magazine can be, let's see here. What's a good example? We'll do these quick so we don't get banned. A box magazine could be as simple as, here we go, chat. So when you guys think of box magazine, you guys are probably thinking of, here, why is this not loading? There we go. So you think of box magazine, you think of this. This is typically known as a box magazine. Okay, and that's for a G36. But you could also have a box magazine as this. And this is the magazine. This is a belt-fed magazine. This is the ammunition belt for a belt-fed machine gun, but it's inside a box, commonly called a nutsack. But that is considered a box magazine as well. What's in the box? A lot of fun, chat. Yes, drums are better. Drums have a lot of advantages. There's also pan magazines, like on a DP 28. There's all kinds of magazines. Yes, Katie says, how odd. That's what they call it. I don't know. I didn't choose the name. They call them a nutsack. Yes, there are also internal magazines, like on a bolt-action rifle. When you take like an M1 Garand and you shove the rounds into it, that's an internal magazine. But box magazines are typically ones that are detachable. So, yes, the drum is so bulky you can't actually carry more. You can't carry more drums. Yes, and that's because with the saw, that's for the saw, and that's because even though this is an airsoft version of it, this is basically this is the size of a 200. This is the size of the magazine for a saw. It's fucking huge. It's like 200 rounds. And it just sucks the belt out of it. And it is huge. It's a massive thing. And people don't like using it because it's fucking massive. They're also apparently fragile from what I understand. So it all depends on what you're doing. Will you be getting a haircut before you're reunited with 2.0? Please say yes. No, I was scheduled for tomorrow, and this hearing I had, there's like 6 lawyers involved in it, and we couldn't schedule it for any other time than starting at like 1 o'clock on a Friday, and it's probably going to go till like till close or like 5 o'clock. We think based on all the evidence we have to present. I'm not presenting. I'm a guardian on a case, but there's like 6 lawyers, and we're like, this is the only time it works. So 6 lawyers, that's 7 too many. Well, technically, the magistrate is a lawyer, so there are 7 lawyers. There are 7 lawyers. Let's keep going, guys. We are tangenting. God, we're pulling a Kershaw right now, tangenting like crazy. And they say that the semi-automatic firearms equipped with magazines like those banned by the state are used for multiple lawful purposes, including target shooting, competition shooting, and collecting. And are also kept for home defense and defense outside the home. Yes. You never know. You might need to shoot a robber or some asshole government official. Remember the chat. The Second Amendment is about if the government comes, it tries to put you down, you can put them down instead. That is the ultimate underlying intent of the Second Amendment. Don't let anybody convince you otherwise. It's about putting in work against the government. It's always been that way. They also point out that semi-automatic pistols and rifles cannot function as designed without a magazine. That's true. Now, you could single round load them, but that's like really fucking hard to do, and it's a pain in the ass. And then here they talk about what semi-automatic firearms, how they're designed to work. We already know that. They say many full-size 9mm semi-auto pistols are sold at retail with magazines with capacities greater than 15 rounds. For example, a Glock 17, which is one of the most popular handguns sold in the U.S. Glock 19 is, but are done that way. The number of magazines like those banned by the state is in the tens of millions. In the state of Colorado alone, because there were people that owned them already, they've been grandfathered, is in the millions. And prior to the effective date of the ban, magazines like those banned by the state were not unusual in Colorado. And, the National Shooting Sports Foundation is the trade association of the firearms industry. They are the people who put on SHOT Show, actually. They are the people who put on SHOT Show. Let me see here. What did you guys say? Okay, I'm not getting involved in all that. We're not getting involved in the banking laws of Cyprus. According to the NSSF detachable magazine report in the United States, there are at least 448 million magazines with a capacity in excess of 15 rounds. That's a lot of action for you switchies, chat. Think about that. No talk, no cap. I mean, that is absolutely amazing, chat. It is so good.
Switchy. No talk. No cap. No talk.
No cap indeed, chat. I think about all them switchies out there running hard. And think about all the ones that have been 3D printed since in the past 5 years. Millions more. The state has already admitted that these are common use by law-abiding Americans for lawful purposes. Therefore, the bans violate the Second Amendment, and that's true. And they talk about the law enforcement officers. And they say that the Colorado Highway Patrol and the Colorado Bureau of Investigations are divisions of the departments of is a department of the state. All state patrol have the power to make arrests for any violation of criminal law. All officers of the state patrol are commanded to make arrests when a valid warrant for arrest arises. And they say, as used as a complaint, Colorado law enforcement officers shall mean officers of the state patrol and the CBI. And they point out that when the court issues an arrest warrant in connection with the magazine ban violation, it commands them to arrest the person and take them without unnecessary delay before the nearest judge of a court. And the officers are under a duty to enforce the criminal laws of the state. The magazine ban is a criminal law of the state. It is. Thus, the officers are under a duty to enforce the magazine ban. And officers have, in fact, routinely enforced the ban from 2013 to the present and continue to do so. Yes, they still do it. They still do it. Now, how do they decide that the DOJ can bring this? Well, they cite 34 U.S.C. 12601. And what is that? It's unlawful for any governmental authority or any person acting on behalf of governmental authority to engage in a pattern or practice of conduct by law enforcement officers that deprives the persons of rights, privileges, or immunities secured or protected by the Constitution or laws of the United States. Yeah, that's good. What are we actually going to do about this? What are we actually going to do about this? What are we going to do about this? Stephen Cooper, what are you saying? A significant number of gun dealers never complied with the magazine ban, at least until they started the Stasi this year. I say this as someone in Colorado. I have heard stories that stores just kind of did whatever the fuck they wanted. And it's funny because in Ohio, also thank you for the super chat. There were times in Ohio where Ohio had bans on magazines over 30 rounds. So like owning a Magpul PMag 40 was like impossible. Although you could go to gun stores and they would have AK drums sitting on the shelf. Or a couple places had 40 round, like the aluminum 40 round magazines you could buy for AR-15s. Selling belts for belt-fed machine guns, just the cloth belt that had more than 30 round, like 30 holes in it for things. You buy beta magazines. Beta. So it all depends where you're going. It all depends on where you're going. Neo Dark Matter says you bought them as kits or an LLC. Not here in Ohio. I remember the stores like, yeah, it's an AK drum. It's like $100. So yeah, we'll see though as this goes on here. And they say the state's a governmental authority, the department is a governmental authority, and the cops are, agents of the law. So this allows them to do that. And there is a pattern or practice of conduct by the cops that deprives persons of rights, privileges, or immunities secured or protected by the Constitution. Therefore, they're in violation of federal law. They're also citing a civil action by the United States Attorney's Office where they have reasonable cause to believe a violation of paragraph 1 has occurred. Well, what's paragraph 1? Well, this should state paragraph B of 12601B. It's okay, guys. People make typos all the time. First claim for relief. So what do they want? The pattern of practice of conduct violates and deprives of rights secured by the Constitution and are protected. And they want an injunction against the defendants and declaratory relief because the defendants will continue to engage in a pattern or practice of conduct that deprives law-abiding individuals their Second Amendment rights. So what do they want? They want an entry of a declaratory judgment. The state's a governmental authority. Well, it is. They want the court to determine that the department is a governmental authority, that the cops are law enforcement officers, and that when they enforce the magazine ban, they are acting as agents of the defendants. And when they enforce the magazine ban, it's a pattern or practice of conduct. And that the effect of that pattern or practice of conduct is to deprive people of their rights guaranteed by the Second Amendment. They want a permanent injunction, keeping the cops from engaging in any of the predicate acts forming the basis of that pattern or practice. To adopt or implement policies they want to remedy the pattern of unlawful conduct, meaning they want them to say, look, you guys can't arrest people anymore for this. To adopt systems that identify and correct conduct that deprives people of their rights, privileges, and immunities in the United States. And seeking other relief as the United States may require. Submitted by Harmy Dillon, we'll see, out of the Civil Rights Division. We'll see if she's serious about taking care of business. I don't know if she is, guys. But we'll find out. Stephen Cooper says, also like 56 of the 64 sheriffs trying to sue over this law. And here's the thing, Stephen, I'm not going to try to poo-poo this, but like suing over it doesn't really cost them anything. Like I said, if you want the sheriffs to show where their skin is, like have them break the law, the magazine law. And let's see where they're at. We'll know that. Jefferson Post says Massachusetts is surprisingly loose on the enforcement of high capacity magazines. Really? Did not know that. I would not have known that, and I would have wanted to find out if that was true or not. Ludwig Horsecock says, "Did you see the month of June came early?" I heard that, yes, June the King released Jeremy's thing, which apparently was a brutal takedown, but I've not seen it yet. Fair Frozen says, "Funny how most of the restrictions are racist as hell. Still funnier how these working against the 2A don't care about that." Yeah, I mean, all they have left are the black codes, and we can't arm the blacks and we can't arm the Indians. Those are the only historical analogies they could find, and yet that's what they double down on. That's what they double down on, and it's, it's funny and weird a little bit, I guess. It's funny and weird just a little bit, but I don't know. Jefferson says, Massachusetts resurrect. Also, good to see you, man. Says Massachusetts resurrected the assault weapons ban for states and transfers. Also, high cap mags over 10 unless pre 94 or just avoid date stamps. So you can own a pre 1994 like high capacity magazine. Okay, I didn't think you could own any of them. Period. But yeah, no date stamps. Well, that's a problem though. Sometimes there are cage codes on those things, and you can sometimes date stuff. So you have to be careful. Or like revisions, like a third generation PMag may not qualify, whereas a first generation might. Or you might be stuck using just aluminum or steel magazines for like an AR. Or kind of like if you had HKG 36 magazines, those wouldn't come out until after 94 for at least us to get a hold of them in any quantity. So yeah, but that is a good point there. That's interesting. Thank you for guys bringing that up. I appreciate it. Rather safe with old M1 carbine magazines. Yeah, but those wear out, man. Oh, the gun store I go through does all the sheriff department transfers and was openly selling to everyone. That's based. Ah. Missouri Battleflag says, "I need the police for the whites and the police for the blacks." Virtually no one's been arrested, really? Okay, well, Interesting. Jefferson says, "Like you said in Ohio, they're still on the shelves here." Well, Ohio fixed that law many, many years ago. But I remember I was in college and I went up to, because I lived in Bowling Green at the time, and in Michigan, you could buy 40-round PMags and nobody gave a shit. So I think it was like 2011 or so. I went up to Michigan. I went up to Cabela's with my father-in-law at the time, and we stopped there and they had PMags on sale, and it was like 2011, and I grabbed a bunch of 40-round PMags and I brought them back, and I was like, "Ooh, I'm breaking the law." So, but it was like then the next year they fixed it. So, oh yes, it's almost like the state is scared of the people with guns would legally fight back against the enforcement of the law. Yeah, it's almost like they're scared. Oh my God, if they find out what we're doing, they might kill us. It's like, yeah, remember, politicians being afraid of the people is good business. That's the way it should be. They should be terrified that they're going to get drug out of their homes, beaten to death with axe handles, or tarred and feathered. That is good governance. That is good governance. That is civic participation out there, chat. That is true civic participation. The Muggus says Ford is mostly good. I mean, I guess open carry is a thing now, but the whole 3-day waiting period thing is kind of gay. And then there's the whole 21-year-old thing, which I think is bullshit too. So, shh, lower your voice. Yes. Oh, all right. Surprisingly, Vermont has no license requirements, but didn't they ban a bunch of stuff in Vermont? I don't know. Vermont's weird like that. All right, guys, we're gonna plow through the rest of things here and kind of catch up on some stuff. Okay, we can get rid of Minnesota. Okay. Here we go. Okay. I take a gun says the gun store near me is right next to a gas station. The test range he has is pointed at giant propane tanks. The cops don't go near him. Well, that's the thing there, yes. He's getting ready to speedrun chat. No, we're not. Am I in Florida now? No, not yet. Not yet. It's amazing. Like, we had the same color paint on the house. No, not yet. Not till the end of the month. Not till the end of the month. Hi, David. Derna says, I recognize no state called Vermont. It's called gay New Hampshire. They're all gay. They're all gay. It's New England. New Hampshire. Gay. Vermont with some googly gobbledygook named towns. Gay. No. Florida's mostly REF. REF. I don't know. End of this month, and for how long? Forever. Forever. Yes, forever. Till we come back. Yes, I'm really moving to Florida. Yes. Okay. So this is an interesting thing here, guys. I don't know how this is going to work for Trump, but remember, Donald Trump owes E. Jean Carroll a bunch of money for defaming her because apparently she really did 100% honest Jean get raped by Donald Trump in such a way that mirrors exactly the fucking plot out of a Law and Order episode. Apparently, that's not a coincidence, chat. That's not a coincidence, but apparently that's a thing that happened. And then he said this is all bullshit, and her and her goober-looking attorney, I mean, remember, they're both fucking weirdos. Yes, got even more of a judgment out of Trump. And this is, remember, the woman who said women like to be raped. And she said the whole thing to Anderson Cooper. And she's just a complete lunatic in her own fucking world. She is just a crazy woman. You know, this is this is E. Jean Carroll. This is like her little reading shack or whatever it is here for her. This is like where she goes and reads and hangs out. She writes all over the sides of it and stuff. Totally not a fucking insane person. Totally not an insane person at all. Oh. But the DOJ is seeking to intervene in the cases. And you're like, well, wait, Sean, how can they do that? Now, they're pointing out it would be highly unusual for the government to intervene post-trial and verdict. Yeah, it would be, especially at this stage, but they can. They can. And they can evoke something we talked about before, and it's called the Westfall Act. And we're going to get, we'll talk about this in a minute here, but we're now seeing a DOJ filing. And Trump just appealed to the Second Circuit, and I believe, it's not going well. He's not finding anybody out there that'll show him some love. And here's the thing, Supreme Court ain't going to do it. But the DOJ is showing up, and they are looking to joinder of the United States as amicus curiae and the motion to stay a mandate. So what do they want to do here? So pursuant to the Federal Rules of Appellate Procedure, guys, we talked about this with the Supreme Court. The DOJ has special rules that if there's a Supreme Court case and they want to be involved in it, they basically just get to knock on the door and be like, yo, we want to talk too. And the Supreme Court's like, all right, here you go. Here's some time on the docket. And they automatically get it. Well, they are, seeking to join this case. And they say, in addition to the unopposed arguments advanced and good cause shown, the U.S. notes there is further good cause to stay the issuance of the mandate because the United States will petition for a writ of certiorari with respect to the panel's refusal to honor the United States Westfall Act certification and failure to substitute the United States as the party defendant in this matter. You guys remember the Westfall Act covers all politicians and government officials that are high up enough there to do that. So they're looking to do this and get involved in the case and therefore alleviate Trump's problems. You guys remember the Westfall Act gives federal employees absolute immunity from common law tort claims if it's all part of their employment. And members of Congress, when they're not on the floor of the House or the Senate, so for example, with the Covington kids, if you guys remember what happened there, Elizabeth Warren and AOC and other parties defamed them. And they weren't on the floor of the Senate or the House. So what do? You sue them. But they turned around and said, Westfall Act, I'm operating In the scope of my employment, I, as a lawmaker and a politician, I could comment on newsworthy events, and that's all been held up. That's all been held up by the courts and upheld as valid. And they are seeking to jump into the lawsuit. And what would that allow? Well, ultimately, that would require dismissal because, as makes sense, if they substitute themselves for the president, it's dismissal because the federal government can't be sued for defamation. And that's because it's not covered under the Federal Tort Claims Act like that. And it gives federal employees immunity from civil damages. And they say, and here's the thing, Trump was president while he made the comments. And it's true. It would be highly unusual for the government to intervene. And the DOJ's filing comes as Trump is seeking to avoid paying the judgments while the Supreme Court decides whether to review the case. So Trump has also asked the Supreme Court to overturn the $5 million judgment after a jury claims he sexually abused and defamed her. Well, we'll see what happens there, chat. We'll see what happens. And it is interesting because these are the last of things. You're saying, sorry, Florida's mostly red. Yes, it is. We're going to talk about Florida in a minute, so don't worry. Yes, E.G. and Carroll's lawsuits are like the last personal legal issues facing Trump. There was the criminal conviction he had, and then the fraud lawsuits, and then the appeals court tossing out the $500 million financial penalty. Remember, Judge Engoron did that. And the appellate court in New York was like, no, we're not doing that. Now the rest of it's still being litigated. So remember, Trump's cases are still pending. And now remember, E.G. and Carroll is owed a total of $88.3 million plus interest for actions he allegedly sexually assaulted her in a Manhattan department store in the 1990s and defamed her by denying her account and calling her a liar. So we'll see what happens. We'll see what happens here, but I don't think it's gonna work, but I hope it does, just to felt this woman because she fucking deserves it. Remember, she's like, women like to be raped. It's like, okay, that's what you said. All right. But anyways, yep, here's Donnie. I will say that is a very nice looking tie. I like that pattern, and it goes perfect with the blue and the gold. It's like nice. It's nice. Trump the base, the first of his name. No. Warren's existence defames me. Yeah, well, I'm sorry you have to deal with that as a resident of Massachusetts. So it is tough. It's tough like that, chat. Sometimes it'd be like that. Okay, so where are we now? Okay. So this is a little bit of an interesting thing here. I thought this was kind of interesting what this type of case is, not necessarily who it's about. It kind of is, and it all revolves Marilyn Monroe. So Marilyn Monroe had a home in Brentwood, in Brentwood, and yes, that same Brentwood, chat. That same Brentwood. And people were wanting to tear her house down. People had bought her house, and this is Marilyn Monroe's house right here. This is her home that she had built in Brentwood. And so people bought her house and their neighbors, and they wanted to tear it down because it's old and decrepit and it's shitty, and they're like, we want more land. Because surprisingly, chat, in LA, land is at a premium, and that little lot you could do so much with. So there are people here who are trying to get her house torn down. And it's very interesting how this all happened. So in 2023, the owners of the property where Marilyn lived have been headbutts with the city over their right to tear down the property. And what's going on here? And if you guys don't remember Marilyn Monroe, happy birthday, Mr. President. All that. So what do they? So the backstory here, Marilyn Monroe purchased her 1920s Spanish style house for $77,500 in 1962. Think about how much, like $77,500. Like it's the boomer. The way the boomers live in this world is cruel to us. It was the first and only home that she owned herself because she overdosed on barbiturates. Like, well, yeah. Shortly after buying the house for $8.35 million in 2023. $8.35 million, chat. Think about that return on investment. With the intention of expanding their neighboring properties, the owners were granted permits to tear down the house and redevelop the property. But here's what happened. Some city council member filed a motion to designate it as a landmark. And it's a history piece. The only home Marilyn Monroe ever owned. It would be a blow for historic preservation in a city where less than 3% of historic designations are associated with woman's heritage. Her whole woman's heritage was her being a floozy. And then in June 2024, it was named as a cultural historic landmark. And the couple, like, they're getting fucked. You know, this is one of the things. It's kind of like if your house gets put on the National Register, you're kind of screwed. If your house gets a historic status, there are times where you have to receive permission to do anything to the house, depending on the situation. Because guess what happens? You can't tear the house down. The house is worth nothing now because you can't do anything to it. So guess what? That's a takings issue, and it violates your Fifth Amendment rights and all of that. So they filed. If the thing, if the government wants a museum, it must pay for one. So, and how did this work from here? Well, there's an update on this, and it's kind of this is a little different, guys, than filings we've seen before. But it's minutes for the suit, and this is an in chambers thing. And if you guys just think about this, you own a house, you buy the house, you're going to tear it down, and somebody says, no, the woman need it. Yes, the City of Horrors is protecting the bordello of a chief whore who is really surprised, yes. $900,000 when adjusted for inflation, yeah. Well, it's $77,000 in the 60s is a lot of money. Half Irish says, hi, hello. Oh, Katie, you were saying, am I going to do locals? I don't think so tonight, guys. Probably no locals tonight. I am fucking beat, and I got to lay down. I'm dying! I'm dying here. So they point out now, remember, they're suing under the Fifth Amendment, that it's a takings clause issue. So the city filed a motion to dismiss. And they talk about the procedural background. Well, what is it? Well, it's a single-family home on 5th Helena Drive in LI, which belonged to Marilyn Monroe for about 6 months before she died. Plaintiffs live adjacent to the property, which is situated at the end of a short, narrow, dead-end residential street in a cul-de-sac. Dee Dee says, Sean, we will suck your peen. No, I'm good. According to the complaint, in the decade since the home, the house has been altered by successive owners with no opposition from the city. The house has been occupied since 2019, and although it's structurally sound, large segments of the roof are missing. The house lease and other elements of the house are in disrepair. I'm sure the house is fucking falling apart. And they say city code requires a 30-day preservation hold on permits for any property more than 45 years old. That's insane. A process that exists to allow the city and other interested parties to raise objections before any permits become final. Think about that in LA. I did not read this, chat. I'm reading this live with you guys. A 30-day hold on any property older than 45 years old? That's ridiculous. That is ridiculous. No one objected during the period to the issuance of the grading and demolition permits on historical monument grounds or otherwise. The city issued the permit September 7th after the 30-day hold expired. They spent tens of thousands of dollars preparing to use the demolition and grading permits. Yeah. Getting companies in line for that, it's a lot of fucking money. Especially in a place like LA where they're out there like demolishing the Pacific Palisades still aren't being rebuilt. And they say, however, on September 8th, a member of the LA City Council representing the area the property is located introduced the motion to make it a historic cultural monument. The city council approved the motion the same day. Where was Herman and the other brave patriots that go into where is Herman and the other brave patriots that, normally go to city council meetings?
God bless you, Donald Trump. Keep the simplified fags out of our government.
That little Niger bitch.
Where were they? They were asleep at the switch when this happened, chat. They weren't there to defend the city council and protect it and stop it. Geez, Love You says, I have an hour drive. You can suck it up. I have an hour drive tomorrow to go to court. Like, I got to drive to a court that's kind of the edge of my. It's on the edge of my. It's on the edge of my area of. It's on the edge of my area of operations. My AO. It's on the far edge. It's on the far side of the world, as far as I'm concerned. So, yeah, it's. I got a long day too. And they say the city then stayed the demolition and permits. And on January 18th, the city's Cultural Heritage Commission formally recommended the property to be an HCM. Plaintiffs allege that during the designation process, they opposed the city's actions, including by writing to the Planning Use Commission to express concern the designation would turn the house into a tourist attraction and highlight opposition to the HCM designation by neighbors and local homeowners. Yeah, it's going to turn it into literally $0. The property is now worth nothing because you can't do shit to it, and nobody's going to buy it. So, plaintiffs have also offered to work with the city to relocate the house to another location. How are they going to do that? Move that fucking house. However, the city rebuffed plaintiffs' overtures and charged ahead. And they say the city is terminating the previously issued permits. They say, according to the complaint, the designation prohibits any demolition or substantial alteration of the property absent the city's express permission. It's a lengthy process, including you have to do an environmental impact report and the rights of any third party to challenge any approval. I mean, imagine what'll happen. Yeah. Just wait until the fires next year. Yeah. Yeah, just anybody. And that's the thing. Anybody. The same actors who drove and appointed the designation process can prevent anything from happening. And they say the designation has generated massive tourism and has done nothing to prevent the property from becoming a tourist attraction. They said multiple people have flown drones over the property. They've trespassed or attempted to trespass and have burglarized the property. In particular, there's a burglar where they scaled the wall and broke into the house. The incident's under investigation by the LA Police Department, and they allege they've been forced to pay for multiple levels of added security, including private security forces. In addition, they're spending over $100,000 a year on property taxes and maintenance costs for a property they can't do shit with. Yeah. I mean, to be fair, though, this is probably what these people voted for, so it's like suffer, ultimately. And yes, because of this, the property is frozen in place. It's unsellable and unrentable. That's right. Nobody's going to want to buy it because you can't do shit to it. And you can't rent it out because the fucking roof is missing. In order to rent out the house, they would need to obtain permission and then spend hundreds of thousands of dollars on repairs. They would then be required to disclose to prospective renters the repeated events of trespassing, the influx of tourism, and other burdens caused by the HCM. And that's because there are all kinds of disclosure rules in California. It's an unrentable condition, and the house is now zero or a negative amount. Yeah, they destroy the value here. And they've previously challenged the lawfulness of all of this, and they claim that this is a 1983 violation. Why? Well, because it's a Fifth Amendment takings clause. It violates their Fifth Amendment right to just compensation, and they seek injunctive relief. And it's true because it's been taken from them. Their house has been voted to nothing. They love the suppression. Cover me harder, California. So what's the legal standard? Well, 12B1 is a subject matter jurisdiction thing here. We talked about the 12B1 cases and how this works here. And they talk about it's a motion to dismiss, whether or not there's subject matter jurisdiction. Rule 12B6, we're not going to get into that, guys, because we understand you failure to state a claim upon which relief cannot be granted. And remember, 12B1 is subject matter jurisdiction. 12B6 is failure to state a claim upon which relief cannot be granted. And then it says, once again, they cite the cases that we talk about. Bell Atlantic Court versus Twombly. Conley versus Gibson is like the Mac Daddy of things before Twombly and Iqbal. But they point out the whole Twombly standards that go on here. They also cite Ashcroft versus Iqbal. Remember, guys, I've said it before. Iqbal and Twombly are like the two big things. J-Rock says, wait, was it designated before they bought it? No. It only got designated after they got the permits to tear it down. So no, it's a big fucking problem. It was worth $8 million because the property's worth $8 million. The house is not worth a damn thing. And then you talk about Rule 15 requires leave to amend to be freely given to amend when justice requires. So they go and they talk about Rule 15, and there are, although leave to amend should be liberally granted, the amended complaint may only allege other facts consistent with the challenge pleadings. You can't change it too much. Then there's judicial notice, guys. Judicial notice is what the court can do of facts that do not require any further proof. So, for example, that May 7th, 2026 is a Thursday. It's commonly known and it's a verified fact. You can say, like, judicial notice that it was 35 degrees outside yesterday in Ketchikan, Alaska. That can be judicial notice. They say here in the city asks the court to judicial notice certain things. And what the court could do is it could take advantage of certain documents. Now, sometimes it can, but these are documents outside of its record. Now, you can always ask the court to take judicial notice of its own record in a certain case file. I always think it's weird. I always like how Runkle says, like, that file. But yes, so like this suit right here, the court could take judicial notice of everything in this because it's part of the case. But there's other things here. The writs that were denied, the cultural commission's codes, the city council motions, the official actions of city councils, the planning and land use management committee, the judgment in state court, the notice of appeal filed in state court. And they point out the plaintiffs did not oppose the defendant's judicial notice, the request for judicial notice here. And they say they talk about under the various rules of Federal Rules of Civil Procedure 201B. And you guys are like, wait, there are that many? Yes. Yes, chat. The Federal Rules of Civil Procedure. There are like a ton of them. There are tons and tons of rules of civil procedure here. There are all kinds. There are all kinds of rules of civil procedure. Where did it go? Did I lose it? Nope, right here. And they go on here and they say the exhibits are rulings and filings from the state courts. And the plaintiffs don't dispute the court's ability to take judicial notice of these documents. And they're fine with that because we'll deal with it. And ultimately, we get to the analysis of what's going to happen here. Joe Schmo says most LA municipalities look at historical preservation societies as parasites. Oh, I bet. I can only imagine. They're like, oh, fucking Burt Reynolds, fuck Sally Field over a garbage can here right after Smokey and the Bandit one night. We can't tear this block down. Yes, there are so many. I can only imagine because so many celebrities have stayed in this place or they rented this apartment that it just becomes an ongoing issue. But yes, you have the takings clause of the Fifth Amendment. The federal government can't take property for public use without just compensation. And it has been long held to apply to the states through the 14th Amendment. And there's no question about that. And there are two broad takings, physical takings, like when they actually take your property, and a regulatory taking. Now, the plaintiffs are claiming it's a regulatory taking and a physical taking. And the city argues that it's not a physical or regulatory taking. And they said the regulatory takings claim is unripe, and the allegations of harm by third parties do not establish liability for the city. Yes, it's Rule 303. That is correct. So what do they do here? So they point out physical taking when it has physically taken property for itself or someone by whatever means. The physical takings when the government uses power of eminent domain, or when the government physically takes possession of property without acquiring title to it. Another example of a taking, chat, would be, and this is a really good one, if you're watching a movie and some guy walks up and says, "Police business, I need this car." They pull up their badge to stop a car, and they drag somebody out of the car and they take off in it. That is a takings. The government has confiscated your property. You are entitled to just compensation. And they says that government authorized invasions of property by plane, boat, cable, or beachcomber are takings that require compensation. The government must pay for what it takes. Yes. Now they're arguing this has induced members of the public to view the house while trespassing on properties, which is a physical taking. Now they point out here, the city argues that they can't show that there's any allegation that the HCM impairs the right to keep out trespassers. And the court says here the city is correct that the plaintiffs insist the city's actions constitute a physical taking because the city knew or should have known a final decision making the property a monument will result. However, plaintiff points to no actions by the city authorizing or encouraging people to access the property itself. Nor do plaintiffs allege the city has refused to enforce or prevented plaintiffs from enforcing their rights against individuals who trespass. So, for example, if the police said, "No, we're not enforcing trespassing actions," we can't do that. That's not happening here. So, while that happens here, they're stating they failed to state a physical taking claim. Okay, well, that's not good. That's not a good look. Okay, so they lose there. So, accordingly, the physical taking dismissed. And I would agree, it's not a physical taking, but it is regulatory, I would argue. And a regulatory taking is when the government, rather than appropriating private property, imposes regulations that restrict an owner's ability to use his own property. And if they leave the owner of the land without economically beneficial or productive options, like this, you can't touch it because now it's a landmark. Yes, it's from the movie Breaker Morant. Yes. So, like, talk about rightness. And guys, the issue of rightness is ultimately, the idea that courts shouldn't consider a claim before the governments have reached a final decision. And they say that regulatory takings claims are generally not ripe until the government entity charged of implementing the regulations have reached a final decision regarding the application of the regulations to the property at issue. And they say here the city's saying, like, it's unripe. There's been no final decision regarding the property's permitted use. They also argue the state of the property is in flux due to the ongoing state court actions, which those are problems. Like, it's all still up in the air. We can't decide on it. And the city argues the plaintiffs have not obtained a final decision because they have not reapplied for a demolition permit and have not obtained a formal rejection of any other specific development. So they point out here that they argue the city completed the process for designating the property and did so with full knowledge the plaintiffs wanted to demolish it. They point out, though, that it appears the plaintiffs have satisfied the modest finality requirement. Neither the state court action could result in the eventual removal of the property's designation, nor the fact the plaintiffs could seek additional permits renders the taking claim unripe. Okay. So for right now, accordingly, based on the current record, the court proceeds that these are ripe for review. But what do we do? Is it a viable regulatory taking? You're like, well, this is kind of gay. Well, let's cut to it. So what are the things you have to do? You have to show the economic impact. You can't sell the property anymore. The extent to which the regulations interfere with investment-backed expectations. You can't sell the property. You can't make money. And the character of the governmental action, a complete prohibition on messing with the property. And they point out this is a massive problem. The complaint alleges that in the alternative, even if the property retains some resale value, the designation still constitutes a taking because the encumbrances, which are limitations. So an encumbrance is anything that attaches to a property. Deeds, liens, easements, anything that encumbers the property, have so greatly reduced the value and destroyed the objectively reasonable investment-backed expectations. So, and for example, covenants and restrictions, CCRs, those are encumbrances. Anything can encumbrance. Yeah, I think it's a taking. It should be. I think it totally is a taking. Joe says for 50 years, that house had an interesting footnote for realtors. Hardly anyone cared Marilyn Monroe died there. Celebrity foamers camped out at her tomb. That's not a surprise. It's not a surprise. So they point out here, though, you compare the value that has been taken with the value that remains on the property. I'm sure you can't get $8.5 million back for this. But here's the thing. Supreme Court has said mere diminution of the value of property is insufficient to demonstrate a taking, which I think is horseshit. I mean, yeah, diminution of a property, okay, fine, a little bit, but I'm sure instead of $8.3 million, you probably can't even get $1 million for it now. It's a lot more than a little. A lot more than a little. They say that the property value is now zero or a negative amount, and the property is worthless. The plaintiffs do not allege they made any attempt to sell the property, nor do they allege they have attempted to perform the repairs or maintenance needed to return it to a habitable state, or the city could or would prevent them from doing so. Because they can fail to offer anything beyond vague assertions of a mere diminution of the property value, they fail to state a claim under the first factor. And you're like, oh, really? So their property is worth nothing. Now they point out here that in this case, the guy lost a value of $500,000. And that still wasn't enough. They say as a second factor, an investment backed must be objectively reasonable. Well, they say the plaintiffs held an objectively reasonable, distinct investment backed expectation. They say, but the problem is you fail to plausibly allege that the expectations were objectively reasonable. Plaintiffs' own allegations suggest at the time they purchased the property, they were aware of the historical connection. The city's designation process and applicable regulations were established. And while prior owners made substantial alterations to the property, no prior owner had demolished the buildings on the property. And they say that the property seller disclosure stated the property used to be owned by Marilyn Monroe. We get visits on the street from tourists. They occasionally ring the doorbell. And while the house isn't designated as a landmark, it could become subject to such designation in the future. Oof. As alleged, the plaintiffs failed to demonstrate a mere unilateral expectation they could demolish the property. I mean, I don't know if they could or not. And yes, this is at the pleading stage too, Scoops. What about all that property tax? Fuck you, pay me. That's the government's concern. Fuck you, pay me. So they say because you failed to establish a takings claim, it must be dismissed. So what's going to happen here? Well, their first amended complaint shall be filed by May 26th. They're going to have a chance to do it. The amended complaint shall not include any new claims or parties without the court's authorization. Failure to file the amended complaint will lead to a dismissal of the complaint without leave to amend. So they can't introduce new claims, but they can add new facts. They can't add new parties. But think about that. The court just said your house is worth fucking nothing and take it. And I thought it's just really interesting that I didn't realize it was that easy in LA to have it. It's got its own historical landmark stuff. That is so crazy, guys. That is so crazy. I did not know that. I did not know that. Did you guys know that? I did not. I did not. So they're going to get a chance to re-amend. I'm kind of curious to see how this goes now. I came across this a couple days ago. looking for stuff, and I'm like, ooh, I'm very curious to see how this goes. I'm very curious to see how this goes. So we'll take a look at it, chat. We'll take a look at it. 264 people here, guys. Please hit the like button. Let's fuck with the YouTube algorithm tonight. Make them pay. Show Jeremy Hambley I get more likes than him, chat. Please. JRX says, what the fuck? Yeah. Joe says the city council is corrupt. The HCM petition process usually takes years. Yeah. I agree. Yes. Like, I think everybody understands anything could be designated a historical landmark. My house right now, the 2.0 and I are going to sell. Like, the house right here. This could be designated a historical fucking landmark. That's always a risk. That's always a risk. It's always a risk. I just don't understand. I just don't understand. I don't understand, chat. I really don't. I really don't understand. I feel like Ketanji Jackson right now. I really do.
It just don't make no sense.
Yep. It just don't make no sense. It just don't make no sense, chat. It just don't make no sense. Let's see here. Is this where is this thing at? This is we got two things left, chat, and we're going to get to both of these here real quick. This first one I thought was kind of interesting because based on what this guy did, I'm like, I'm sure he's a Chinese spy, but it's like, bro, why did you what was the deal here? Because he didn't need to go do what this guy did. Like, it doesn't make any sense to me. Doesn't make any sense to me. So, this is a very weird case, and I'm sure this guy's a Chinese spy. And this is the case of the United States versus Chunrui Lang. Yang. Da 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 da. So it's under 18 USC 79.5. Photographing or sketching defense installations. You're like, okay, so what did this guy do? Well, so it's the FBI field office in Omaha. And you're like, okay, I mean, once I read this part, I know where this is going because, hey, what type of military installation is out in Omaha, Nebraska? A pretty big one, a pretty important one, actually, believe it or not, chat. A critical defense establishment. And what is it? It's Offutt Air Force Base. I mean, guys don't know what Offutt Air Force Base is. Offutt Air Force Base is outside of Omaha, and it is the headquarters of U.S. Strategic Command, STRATCOM. And it is very, very important. Very, very important. It is very critical. It's what they do. And ultimately, where is, if you guys are wondering what STRATCOM is, well, it is the successor organization and reorganization of the U.S. military from Strategic Air Command. Yes, that was responsible for having the B-52s always up in the air, nuclear armed and ready to go. Having a control aircraft always orbiting 24 hours a day over the United States in case of a nuclear strike that would decapitate the civilian control of the U.S. military to allow a nuclear weapons release. A lot of things that happen out there. And this is very interesting in how this... Yeah, the B-2s are out of Whitman in Missouri. But what happened here? Well, this guy did some things. He did a fucky-wucky. And you're just like, why would you do this? Why would you do this, man? Why would you be a Chinese spy like this? It doesn't make any sense. But anyways, working with the Air Force Office of Special Investigations, chat, that is their version of CID if you're in the Army, or NCIS. That is their investigation service. That is their, 1811s who are in charge of investigating. And yes, he has training in counterintelligence operations. And I'm familiar with tradecraft and techniques employed by foreign adversarial nations. So what happened here? Okay, so what is the issue? So you're not allowed to sketch certain installations. You're not allowed to do this. Okay, so what happened? Well, on March 31st, OSI was notified that in the vicinity of the Air Force Base, a guy was observed taking photographs of the flight line and aircraft. So what happened? Well, it was a male holding a camera with a telescopic lens. Now, is there anything wrong with necessarily just taking pictures? No. There's all kinds of airplane autists out there. But here's the problem. When you get to this, it is home to the 55th Wing of the United States Strategic Command, the 557th Weather Wing, and the 95th Wing in various tenants here. It's the largest wing in the Air Combat Command and the second largest in the Air Force. And what does the often have a lot of airplanes with? RC-135 rivet joints. If you guys haven't seen those before, those are highly, highly sensitive aircraft that are in charge of massive signals intelligence. It's a long-range reconnaissance aircraft. You guys have seen pictures of these before, and I've mentioned before when you go online, you see the flight trackers showing these guys are flying around in an area. They're sniffing up electronic intelligence data. Whether it's signals or, for example, if an Air Force has surface-to-air missile radars, and this plane will fly along and have them turn on the radar to track them. Well, they're now getting all the data, and you guys have seen this thing before. It's got the cheeks on the side. It's got those big old cheeks, and it's got the big old droopy nose on it. And yes, this is a 707 airframe, but look, it's got big old engine upgrades on it now. These things have been upgraded. These are critical national defense assets. Critical national defense assets. Be right back, drawing Area 51 from memory. Yeah. Didn't they fly a balloon over this place anyway? Well, yeah. It can. Yes. The plane is storing acorns for winter. Yes, it's going mouth. So what happened with this guy? So he's already filming stuff here. On the RC-135 Combat Sentry, the WC-135 Constant Phoenix, that is the nuclear sniffer aircraft. That is the nuclear sniffer aircraft, chat. That is in charge of sniffing for radioactive debris. So when a country is suspected of detonating a nuclear device, like when North Korea detonated its first nuclear bomb, this plane flew out over that area to go sniff in the air, and it detected the isotopes and trace chemicals and materials that would do that. Then there's another plane you see on there, the E-4. And the E-4B is the doomsday plane. It's the night watch. And you might say, well, wait, is it what exactly is it? Well, it is this. You might say, well, wait, isn't this Air Force One? No, it's not Air Force One. It is a command and control military aircraft for the Air Force, and it's part of the continuity of government. And it's a mobile command post. It could be for the president. It could be for the Secretary of Defense. There are 4 of them, and they operate. So this is this kind of works in conjunction with all of that. There are multiple things here. It's not the only one. There's a couple of them. Swippy said, would it detect the manufacturing uranium? No. But when a nuclear weapon is detonated, there's different things, cesium and strontium, in different isotopes that are in the air. And it can detect them at the atomic level. And, because even when you detonate underground, there's still stuff that gets out. And then there is also... They're for Kash Patel's girlfriend. Yeah. Okay. Jesus Christ, you guys. And there is another plane. There's another plane you guys see here. It's the E-6 Mercury. And that is the Navy's version of this. And you might say, well, wait, what does the Navy need for? Well, the Navy's got the submarine fleet here. And it takes part in what's called TACMO, which means take charge and move out. So these are for, like, it's the end of the world. Carry out your orders. Here are your new orders. Go nuke the fucking Russians. So what did they do? Well, he found a guy named Liang, and he possessed a Chinese passport. Really? Imagine that. And what is he doing? Well, they found out he was a student at Glasgow University in Scotland, but he flew to Vancouver, Canada, and met his friend in Vancouver, who was a student at Columbia University. But allegedly wanted to register his vehicle in Canada because it was cheaper. Oh, this totally makes sense. This totally isn't some spy bullshit. This totally isn't some spy bullshit, huh? This totally is some spy bullshit. So they drove from Seattle, Washington to Billings, Montana, and stopped to spend the night. The one guy flew back to New York because he had to attend classes. I thought he wanted to register his car. I'm confused. Yes, Vancouver is where all the Chinese come in. So Liang continued to drive the vehicle to Ellsworth Air Force Base in South Dakota. So what did he do? Well, he went to Ellsworth Air Force Base. And what's there? The B-1 bombers. And, he stated that the planes had been moved to the UK, but he knew the B-1B was a strategic bomber that dropped the weapon. So not only is he at Offutt Air Force Base, but he's going to Ellsworth, where the B-1 bombers are based. He then drove to Omaha to Offutt. And then he was going to rent, and he left his car at the airport parking garage. His friend's car. Isn't this all weird? Isn't it all weird? Yeah, this is like multiple hour drives from Seattle, yes. Go to photograph the plane if it was at Tinker Air Force Base. That's in Oklahoma. And after Tinker, he was going to drive to Dallas and eventually fly to New York. And then from, the guy was going to fly to Kansas City, pick up his vehicle and drive it back to New York. Well, they asked the guy about the circuitous logistics of his trip. Why didn't he drive the guy's car back? He stayed the route he wanted to go, which, okay. So, so what did he do? Well, he was trying to do plane spotting. And they tell you where you could take various legal pictures, and it was legal to take pictures of the sky. But it was legal to take pictures of the planes on the ground. He admitted he took pictures of the planes on the ground, but stated he did so because he could see the status of the plane, and it was only for his personal collection. Now, here's the thing, chat. I would never recommend you go do this because you're going to get hassled by Air Force security. But if me or you did that, that probably wouldn't be that big a fucking deal. When you're a Chinese guy and you're like, oh, I've been traveling to every Air Force base and documenting things, you're like, yeah. So they had warned him not to get in trouble while photographing the military bases. And he says he took pictures with his camera. However, he showed a picture on his iPhone. And he also possessed a Mavic Pro drone. He totally wasn't going to fly that there. So based upon all of this, he's been charged with photographing an Air Force base. Although here's the thing, chat, because, you can go to Google Maps and, this is the weird part about this whole thing. This is the weird part about this, chat. You can go to Nebraska, you can go to Omaha, and you can go to Offutt Air Force Base and look, here are all the rivet joints. I mean, I can count them. And if I wanted to pay for it, I could pay Maxar to give me actual of today, because this was taken in 2026. I could get from yesterday aircraft flying over satellite footage of this Air Force base if I wanted to. And the Chinese probably already have these planes under surveillance. If they don't, I'm very disappointed. But that's right there. That's right there. Why did we have to do that? Why do we have to do that? And then where is Ellsworth and Rapid City? Yep, I was right. Okay. So Ellsworth Air Force Base. Well, yeah, it's a little empty. Where'd they go? where they go. And also, chat, you might be like, oh, gee, what are all these? These are all weapons bunkers and storage facilities. Maybe nuclear, maybe not. I don't know which one's which. Nobody's supposed to know. But look, here's the Air Force Base. Yep. Ramp is clean because all those planes are in Britain right now. Looks like they're doing construction out there right now, or were for a little while doing something. Okay, they're probably taking advantage while the planes are gone. But yeah, here's the ramp. The ramp is completely clean. And yes, there might be planes in these hangars. But we don't know. We can't tell. Can't tell. So he went there, and he went to Tinker Air Force Base. Where else did he? Tinker is in Oklahoma, sweeping down the plain. Is it in Tulsa, or where the hell is? Is it in Stillwater? No. Tulsa. Where the fuck is Tinker? Hold on here. Tinker Air Force Base. Okay, it is in Oklahoma City. Okay, yeah, here's Tinker Air Force Base. Here we go. Let's see what they got. Oh, they got a lot of tankers sitting on the ground. Look, this one's actually pretty high def. Like, why did you go take pictures? You could have done this from a fucking, worst spy ever. Look, AWACS. Look, all the AWACS that haven't been destroyed, although I bet a bunch of these have actually been deployed. So while these guys are here, I don't think they're here anymore. And look, a B-52. And then, look, more AWACS. More AWACSs. AWACSs like back taxes. Ack. Look, more tankers. More tankers. Look, another tanker. Another tanker. You might be like, yeah, look, a B-1. More B-52s now. Wow. I'm thinking this dude is a plain autism power level 9,000 aerofoamer. No, I'm thinking he's a Chinese fucking spy. But I don't think they're going to be able to prove it. Look, C-130. Like, I could, more B-52s. I didn't realize there were B-52s at Tinker. I thought they were all at Barksdale down in Louisiana. But, look, this is actually, pretty high def, chat. Pretty high def. Is there any more? Nope. Oh, look, here's another AWACS. Well, that's an old radar dome they're working on. That one's probably not serviceable right now. But, yeah, there you go, chat. Oh, wow. You can... Look, there's even more shit you could go look for. You don't need to fucking... look, oh my God, chat, there's even more shit here. Look. Oh, this is the Navy, this is the E-6 right here. They're doomsday planes. To tell the subfleet to go out and nuke somebody. But yeah, look at all this. You're like, wow. Good job, China, Charlie. But anyway, there you go. If he is in a public place outside of the base, they have no standing in those charges. That's not true at all. That's not true at all. Just because you're in a public area does not prohibit you from getting charged under this. So, Jared says, spy on what? You just showed us. Well, from here, I can't read tail numbers. And I can't tell you if these airplanes are being worked on a daily basis. I can't say if these airplanes are sitting on the tarmac and have APUs on them or if people are moving them. I don't know what date this picture was taken. It was sometime in 2026. So I don't know when it was taken. But if you wanted an up-to-date thing, you have to have somebody on the ground reading tail numbers and doing all that information. So there's only so many advantages you can get from a satellite. So Google Map pics are also not recent. From sometime in 2026. Yeah. So these are just inflatable decoys. Yeah. Yeah, he's taking a pic of operations. That's what spies do. Yes. Yes, entirely. Yes. We have people who are able to hide under the cover of autism, but it's a Chinese fucking spy. Given his circuitous route of driving through the country, so he He flies all the way to Vancouver, and they go, wee! And they go from here. His one buddy flies all the way back to New York, and he just goes, doop-a-doop-a-doop-a-doop-boop-boop-boop, boop-a-doop-a-doop-boop-boop-boop, boop, 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 boop. Like, no, that, and then from here, they catch him. And then from here, he flies back to New York, and they caught him in New York City before he was about to fly home. Yeah, I'm not buying that. I'm not buying that. Also, hello, Meme Copium. Yes. Yes, he's just a tourist. I was wondering, okay, so I was wondering where that head of me came up in chat in the casino. I'm like, where the fuck did that come from? But I guess it's you. It's you! I just hate Orientals. Well, of course. Who doesn't? Who doesn't? By their logic, they probably would consider me a spy if I started photographing critical infrastructure in China. They would. They 100% would. 2026 is just the copyright for the webpage. The image may be years out of date. That's possible, but I'm assuming it's fairly close at some point because you could track when like things have been built or messed with. But yeah, I'm just assuming, let's say it came from earlier this year. Sarah Marie says flight tracker may have numbers on it for the military planes if you're ascribed to a high level. But if they're not flying and they're just sitting on the flight line, the A to B transponders aren't running. And also, if the military decides to, they can shut off their A to B stuff and then you disappear out there. So I'm sure the Chinese want to be able to track tail numbers. I should have known when you said you hated blueberries too. Hi, blueberries. I hope you're doing good. Jefferson Post says Chinese proverb. Are your base are belong to us. Yes. Many foreigners have been jailed for spying. Yes, because many foreigners are fucking spies. Like, let's not lie. Let's not lie. Let's not lie. Derna says, look, Sean, it's the only place in U.S. history where a sitting president's brother murdered a lady. Look, it's historically significant. Sitting president's brother murdered a lady? Who did that? Unless that's a joke. I mean, are you making a joke about, like, I don't know who you're making a joke about there, because I'm like, did I miss something? Unless it's a Kennedy joke. I don't know. Stephen Cooper says it's the U.S. versus Hong Kong Phooey. Yes. Hello, chat. RFK killed Marilyn Monroe. Really? Is that what they're arguing? Sarah Marie says, I'm going to have a look. Oh, okay. It's good to see you, Sarah. Hope you're doing well. Been a while. But yeah, RFK is accused of murdering. Hold on here. RFK murdered Marilyn Monroe. I have not heard. The idea that RFK murder is a conspiracy theory. Okay. Huh. I did not know that. He was a suspected person in that. Okay. Really? I learned something new today. Either Bobby Sr. or Ted. Why would Ted Kennedy be out there being the hatch? Like, he's the drunk faggot brother. He is not the one I can see killing people. J-Rock says, I too just learned this tonight. Yes. Oh, RFK Jr.'s daddy. Yeah, well, yes. The elder Kennedy was a fucking dangerous man. He was a gangster and a rum runner. How the fuck did I know this before, Sean? I didn't know that. So, who killed Scalia is what I want to know. Well, yeah, it's that too. Exactly why he did it. Yeah, I guess. Remember when the ARMA devs, got in trouble. Yes, be careful what pictures you take. Yes. Remember, when you're in a foreign country, be very fucking careful. Be very careful, chat. So, Jefferson Post says, Cape Cod has tons of old houses. Providencetown has had houses moved across the water from Long Point due to a fishing downturn in 1850. See the map, but curious. Well, thank you. Thank you. LBJ tore her apart with his horse cock. Yes, Wharf Thunder is famous for leaking military information, yes. But not as much for airplanes, more of armored vehicles. All right, chat. Moving on to the last thing tonight, more gerrymandering madness. Where I'm moving, chat, the state of Florida has going to re-gerrymander, and look at that. Look at that red, chat. You love to see it. You love to see it. And even there are some base maps coming out, chat, and this one here, as was proposed in the state of Tennessee. -1 Democrat district. And you know what? Down in Memphis. Down in the land of Ethan Ralph. I wish I was in the land of a hollerin'. But here we go, chat. Here we go. I'm going to live in 6. No, I'm not in. Oh, you're talking about in Florida? I'm not going to tell you where I'm at. Maybe I'm in 10. Maybe I'm in 11. Maybe I'm in 9. Maybe in all of them. J-Rock, maybe I'm in your mom as a district. What do you mean, do you see Teddy's a killer? Chappaquiddick? Yeah, but like, I don't think he intentionally drove off the bridge and almost killed himself. He was drunk. Like, but the idea that he intentionally went out and murdered Marilyn Monroe, I don't see him as a murderer. He's not that competent. Yes. The land his daddy gave him. Yes. I can see West Memphis from here. You already said you're in the central part of the Atlantic coast. Yes, I know. But there's multiple districts in the central part of the Atlantic coast, so I'm large enough to cover 2 or more districts, yes. All right. Anyway, chat, let's take a look at this, because what happened in Tennessee? Well, the Tennessee House officially passed it. The Tennessee House officially passed it.
Martin, you're recognized.
And everybody lost their goddamn minds. We had a class 10 chimp out. We had a class 10 chimp out, chat. Here we go.
Martin, you're recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Let's remind ourselves that while we're here in this special session...
Mr. Trooper, please clear out that balcony over there. Please clear out the balcony. Leader Lambert. Mr. Clerk.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I yield the remainder of my
Leader
time.
Lambert yields the rest of his time. We're voting. We are voting on the bill. All those in favor of House Bill 7003 as amended, vote aye when the bell rings. Those opposed, vote no. Has every member voted? Does any member wish to change their vote?
I love like it's not even done yet. And he's just like, is everybody done? We're all done. Look at all those yellows. Look at all the yes. Look at all the yes.
Mr. Clerk, please take the vote.
Okay, I'm not going to lie. Somebody named Dixie running in Tennessee, that's pretty based. I hope that's a woman, because I hope her husband sings, "Oh, I wish I was in Dixie. Hooray, hooray." You know what? I'm thrilled people are cheering. I'm thrilled people are cheering. I'm cheering too. Let's fucking go. Like, let's get the horns out, chat. Get all the whistles going. Yes, it's bass. They're fired up.
Yeah.
Aye, 64, 25 nays, 3 present, not voting.
House Bill 7003, having received the constitutional majority, I hereby declare.
Oh my God, somebody does have the name Raper. Whoa, there's a Raper, chat. We've got a Raper in the Tennessee House. We have a Raper down there. But yes, it is. It's like, whoa, 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 whoa. Wow. Ego.exe. How you doing, man? It says, so they met the goal. Yes, they met the goal.
Pass without objection. A motion to resetter's table. Lear Lambert, you're recognized.
Okay, yes, that is funny. Powers Raper. Powers Raper is Reedy. The Power Raper is ready, chat. Look at that. The Powers Raper is ready. Wow, man, that's just worst timing ever there. That is the worst timing ever there. That's so funny. Good job. Good job out there, Tennessee. Based. And like we talked about last night, chat, the Louisiana redistricting, everything's on hold. And the Supreme Court is expediting its orders out to allow the state of Louisiana to get compliant and have non-racist voting districts. So the baseness is just going to last and last and last, chat. So someone has the name Mr. Speaker. Yes. Yes, some guy was named Mr. Speaker. That's tough. I once had a coworker named Raper. The company president could never say his name. Imagine if you're in the military and you get an award and they're like, Sergeant Raper, front and center. You know, in combination of your meritorious service in the U.S. Air Force, the U.S. Air Force extends to Sergeant Raper our sincerest gratitude. It's like, Jesus Christ. Donald Trump's SCOTUS is eliminating racism. Why, God? Why? Jesus Levy says, good night, Tsar. Good night, Jack. Good night, Clyde Prince or Princess. Well, thank you. We're about to wrap up here. Yes, but thank you. We're all cut up now, chat. He would go as Graper on YouTube. Yes, General Raper. Imagine someone in the Japanese military getting a award with that last name. Yes. Super Wiener says his full name is Kevin Raper. Time to send it to every Kevin I know. Christy Lou says, I do oil and gas title. I did that for a while back when I first got out of law school. I once had to track down a family named Raper. I remember there was one gas title opinion I did where it was like I had it down to like one portions of things because we couldn't tell who was alive or dead or how things were done. Down to like a 1,550th fractional interest in a property and things there. Gryffindor said, you covered Trump's latest tariff defeat. No, I was not aware of it. So no, I have not. That might be something we'll cover on a Trump show here coming up. That's going to be one of the things we'll probably be doing some content on here, guys. I will tell you, and I will warn you now, as we get ready to move and do more and more things here, I don't know what my time schedule is going to be every night. So like, I might be only able to do like hour and a half shows. Like we might have to do some quick and dirty ones. Like you guys are just going to get it hard and fast and then we're done. There won't be any landing of the plane. I'm just going to bail out. So just be prepared for that, guys. Like I said, this month is going to suck for me. And I apologize to that for you because, you guys come around demanding the quality, most premium content. And, yeah. It's going to be tough here. Oh, this is funny. Yes. So the people in Memphis want to secede. Where are they going to go? What state are they going to go to? Because every other state's Republican as well. They're going to make their own state of Memphrica, I guess. That would be interesting. That's so funny. That's so funny. You don't care if we come. Oh, not you. Take a week off. It's not like the algorithm's going to miss you. Yeah, I don't want to take a week off, but we might take some nights off here and there. The algorithm's going to miss you. The algorithm doesn't know who the fuck I am anyway. I don't have to worry about the algorithm. Unlike Jeremy, I could disappear. And the algorithm still doesn't know who the fuck I am. So, Adam says, I may get laid off on the 20th, but I'm looking forward to it. Well, if you're looking forward to that, I guess okay, but I hope it doesn't impact you in a negative way. Joe says, I already had my 5-hour super stream, so I'm full up. Yeah. Well, tomorrow we are going to get into some of Acer Thorn. We're going to do some Russell Greer updates. Get into some other lolcow stuff tomorrow night. There are some Acer Thorn updates in his case versus the farms that are kind of funny, and he's fucking spurging out. And we're going to go through all of that. So we'll take a look at that tomorrow. We might get some Russell Greer updates as well. Although it's not as funny as the Acer Thorn shit. He is really going mad. And we'll talk about that. Unlike Jeremy, I have a real job and a real wife. Well, when we get married, we're going to have to get married later this summer. Supposedly, the NAACP has already filed suit over the redistricting. Doesn't matter. Can't do anything about it if it's political. Supreme Court's already said, not our problem. The Court of International Trade said it was unauthorized by law, and the temporary 10% tariffs were set to expire July 24th. Oh, okay. Yeah, I wasn't aware of that outlaw too. I'll take a look at that, but we're gonna have time tonight. But thank you. The disloyal Strayman shyster. Yes. Oh. VTuber says O&G title has to do with property rights in regards to oil, energy, and minerals. Yes. A lot of that is, who owns the minerals, because if I'm doing a horizontal fracking, and I'm fracking along a mile in the ground, and there's 15 different properties, well, who do I pay the royalties to? I have to know. Adam says, I need my Sean streams later this month, though. Well, like I said, if we can get caught up on stuff, we probably will still have them. It's just, they're going to be a little shorter. More Acer Thorn. It's been a while since I've heard that name. Yes. And Frank Deck's gobble. Yes. And JB from Texas gifting 5 subs. Let's fucking go tonight, chat. Get us in a woo to end the night. And J-Rock says, Sean, show the redirect. I can't redirect. And show the panda thing. Yes, I will show the panda thing, J-Rock. J-Rock worked really hard on this, so we'll show it here, chat. Okay, let me pull this out. Thank you, JB, for your support, your generosity, by the way. Oh. Let me see here. Okay, so there's 2 of them. There are 2 of them, chat, and we will... Let me see if I can open this in... All right, here we go. Here we go, chat. Here's one of them. Here we go.
Choo-choo! All aboard the fun train! Roar! I'm a panda conductor now! Choo-choo! Choo-choo!
J-Rock, people are going to think you're a furry because you're making me a furry here, buddy. Got to be careful. I'm just... You got to think about that. That could potentially be an issue. You got to potentially be worried about that. Yes, choo-choo, literally. All right, here we go. Here's... Who says I'm too high for this? Oh, hold on. Why is it not working here? Here you go. Here's the other one he put together.
Choo-choo! Whoa, I'm a panda now! Riding the train! Woohoo! Choo-choo!
Fucking AI is ridiculous now. Everybody looks really good in AI. I don't even look that fat in AI, so thank you for that. Potentially furry, yes. Ugh. Yes, that's... Woohoo! Grok doesn't know what a wind train whistle looked like, yes. Yes, he's a panda. He's black and white on his face. He likes trains too much. We really need a panda and a stew, yes. Misery Bell says, oh my god, I fell asleep in the chair and I woke up to this shit. Well, there you go. Welcome back. AI Sean is at least half a pound lighter. Yes. It's like a half a Sean lighter. So. Okay. MBF is speaking the truth. Yes. Recreate those with the panda hat. That would be funny. That would be funny. All right, chat. We are all caught up for tonight. Guys, tonight on Locals, it's already 12:30. I can't tonight. I am exhausted. It's been a busy week. I am so sorry about that. I'll make it up to you guys. I promise. Just busy fucking day interviewing people and getting ready for interviewing witnesses, getting ready for tomorrow. So yeah. So with that said, chat, I will see you guys tomorrow night. That one might be, we'll probably start around 7:30. Well, actually, wait, I can't promise that because we start at 1:30 and we were told, because of all the bullshit that's happened in this case, the magistrate said you better be DoorDashing your goddamn dinner. I'm paraphrasing a little bit, but you better DoorDash your dinner. So I might be late tomorrow night. I may not be here at all because magistrate's like, if we'll go until we're done. And I'm like, really? And she's like, yeah. I'm like, I don't know if I like this, but it's too late now. It's too late now, chat. This user is 404 says South Carolina better be next. I think a lot of states are going to start redistricting. Mississippi, Alabama's got a problem because they're under a consent decree, but I could see them working with the DOJ to get that lifted and fucking working it out. And then, just redistricting everywhere and the DOJ going after all these districts. It'll be so beautiful, chat. It'll just be beautiful. But yes, South Kakalaki, North Carolina, everybody. We'll see you. We see you when we see you. Yes. Franklin says, so between 12 a.m. and 12 p. Yeah, it's like showing up being a cable guy. Stay awake court tomorrow. Oh, I will. I'm going to go to bed and we're going to be all set. I got some personal things to take care of in the morning, and then 1:30 we start, and we're going to go till it's done. And I'm like, fuck. Because we're like, oh, we'll set it for all day, but two of the attorneys can't show up till 1:30, and we're like, this is how I want to fucking spend a Friday. When we set this 2 months ago, I was like, yay, this is how I always wanted to spend a Friday. And now it's on top of everything else. It's like, shit. So, I missed your super chat again. I'm sorry. I got it though now. So, safe travels, Lawbogger. Thank you. Let's see here. I'd say good luck at court, but that doesn't feel right. So I'd say just do your job. Oh, I think we'll be tomorrow. Tomorrow it's going to work out for me. I'm not what I need to do or what I need done for the parties involved will happen. So that's the good news. I hate to tempt fate, but losing tomorrow is almost fucking impossible. We control the high ground. We control the cards. And it's in a good spot. It's in a very good spot. So with that said, chat, I will see you guys tomorrow. And please remember till next time. Once again, I am so sorry about being late. Try not to make that. I don't ever want to make that a thing. You never say never. I agree, but now you'll lose for sure. I don't think so. I don't think I can. Sorry for being late. Like I said, guys, we try to, it's one thing to be a couple minutes late, but this was late. Thank you all for being here tonight. I appreciate it. I hope you got some quality content out of this. Remember, till next time, chat, just because you did it does not mean you're guilty. It doesn't. Unless your name's Ching Chong Bing Bong and you're driving to every U.S. Air Force base in the country, because that's not sus. Good night, chat. You've been late plenty of times. First of all, lower your goddamn voice. Lower your damn voice, please. Good night,
weapons, blacksmithing, and models of planes, esoteric works, and even some trains. Much merriment had while drinking White Claws, tips on hunting, and even talking the law. Whatever you do, just don't talk to cops, even when they nab you on illegal stops. Just 'cause you did it doesn't mean you're guilty, but please talk to a local attorney. Was that the fat guy Rick hated yelled at?